And a great good evening to all of you joining us at the Marcy Week Show this Wednesday, the 18th of March. Not normally a time that you see my face on the screen, but it is my honor and my pleasure this evening to be with you, the loyal opposition. So good evening to all of you that are joining us from wherever you're joining us from. As I observed this evening as I came on the session, I saw we had persons even joining us from Toronto. And of course, I know of those who join us from the New York area, and some join from the UK, from all different areas of diaspora. We are grateful to have all of you tuning in tonight. What we would ask you to do is to share and to like the show, especially in the YouTube area. Give us that thumbs up and share the link with your friends, your family, even share it with your enemies. Share it with members of the government, and so that they can hear the concerns and voices of the people of Barbados. All right, so a real joy to have you here with us tonight. Let me welcome you as much as I can. Judy, God bless you. Great to have you with us again tonight, Judy and Teroni Hall. Great to have you joining us this evening as well. I'm just looking on down through Square 465. Welcome and good evening to you. Of course, I'm not Mrs. Weeks, as you would well know. Praise God. But it's good to have you with us tonight. Nevertheless, Marv, is that Marv? It's Mavis last year. Good to have you with us tonight as well, Mavis. Please, thank you. Like and share. We'll be happy to have all of you doing this. It would give us a higher level in terms of YouTube. Flo Joe Maloney, as I said to you more than once, whenever I see that name come up, the first thing that comes to my mind is that tremendous athlete that ran for the United States some years ago. Great to have you with us again this evening. Flo Joe, Carol, thank you for joining us this evening. And Shirley 4852, good evening to you as well. And let me just drop down here to Sylvia Rocket. And Did I get that right? Sylvia Rock, 6695. Good to have you with us as well. Marcia Miller, a pleasure to have you joining us this evening, and encourage you to share and to like as much as you can, please. Ronald Archer, you're joining us from Toronto, from what I'm seeing here. Good to have you with us this evening. And the Bajan boy, there you are. Great to have you too this evening with us, Bajan boy. Matthew Brown, a pleasure to have you joining us tonight. Of course, Laurie Bob. I'm almost tempted to think that that's a relationship with some of the Bobs I know in the Cayman Islands. And if there's any relationship there, Laurie, please let me know. Very good friends of mine in Grand Cayman, Reverend Torrance and Elsa Bob, and their children there, spelled just like you, Bobb. Great to have all of you joining us tonight. Queen D246, good evening to you as well. And Sonia Perch, good night to you. And the calendar 2463, blessed good night. Let me come on down here. DCSCB1, good night to you too. Great to have you joining us this evening. And of course, there we get Sherry Johnson. Blessings to you as well. And thank you thank you, Sherry. Thank you so very much. Means a lot to me when I am, singled out. It's okay. Thank you so much, Sherry, great to have you with us. Now, tonight we're going to be looking at, continuing to take a look at the budget that was presented on Monday. As of course you know, yesterday there was the opposition response from the people at the Democratic Labour Party auditorium in George Street. And I'm not sure if we'll get some of that being brought in tonight, but we do expect to continue taking a look at the budget. Now, let me begin my comments. Thank you, Marvel Ashley. Good night to you as well. Pleasure to have you joining us, and thank you for the well wishes for my wife. Thank you. We are believing for her full healing. So far, the gallstone that was threatening her life has disappeared. We know that's a miracle that God worked, because they couldn't find it after they'd done all the tests and so on in Colombia. And we are believing the Lord to continue her healing, to heal her gallbladder, which is contains sludge and gallstones. The recommendation is its removal. She's very reluctant to do that. She's one who believes, she's one who believes that things are in the body for a purpose and for a reason. She's very reluctant to remove her gallbladder. And of course, there are a number of other challenges and issues she has had over the years. And thank God she is alive and she's making progress. And hopefully when we return later this year, they will give her a clean bill of health. So thank you so very, 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 very much. Not just for your prayers. Several of you have assisted financially, and we really do thank you. Every small bit. Don't think that because you don't have a big amount to assist with, that it's not recognized or appreciated. We do appreciate every single contribution that has been made. It helps in one way or the other. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Pamela. Yes, God is absolutely wonderful. He's a great, great Father. And even though sometimes we mess up and we fail him, he remains faithful to us, and we are grateful for that. So thank you all so very, very much for your kind comments, for your prayers, and for your support in whatever way you do. And we really do appreciate it. Now, this evening, I want to begin my comments by quoting a biblical verse. And the reason I want to quote that biblical verse is because we have heard the budget. Now, there is no formal opposition in Parliament to critique, examine the budget. And there is a verse in Scripture I felt to pay attention to, and I'm going to tell you where it's found, and I'm going to read it from two versions of the Bible. It's found in the book of Proverbs, chapter 18 and verse 17. And the Passion Translation puts it this way. It says, there are two sides to every story. The first one to speak sounds true until you hear the other side and they set the record straight. Now, let me read that from another version in the Bible called the Message version. It says this: the first speech in a court case is always convincing until the cross examination starts. And that is what we are going to be doing in the absence of a formal opposition, a formal parliamentary opposition in the House of Assembly. The loyal opposition assumes the role of examining government's performance and examining government's recommendations and suggestions and budget. That is the role that we assume. We are not a party. We are the people of the country. These are the voices of the people of Barbados who I would want to believe any government should pay attention to. And listen, don't ignore how small the voices may appear to be to you. Remember, I learned many, many years ago, within the context of marketing, that a single individual is often representative of about 7 persons. So when you see our figure rise on YouTube or Facebook to around 1,200, 1,400, you could potentially be dealing with in excess of 8,000 people. And when I go back and often review the viewing of our videos, sometimes I see them as high as 16,000 views. And you have no idea. We have no idea where these videos are being shared to. And let me be clear. At no time has the Marcia Week show sought to denigrate our country. At no time. I wouldn't be a part of denigrating Barbados. Neither will Marcia, who through marriage has adopted this country as her home. This is why she is so strong and firm on taking a stand against certain aspects that occur within the context of our nation. And she has every right to, even if she was not a citizen of Barbados within the context of her marriage. She has a right to do it as a member of CARICOM, because we are made to understand that when we speak of CARICOM, we speak of a unity of the nations of the Caribbean coming together. And I want to say that that is more visibly seen within the context of the citizens rather than within the realm of the politics and the politicians. We still haven't been able to rectify that matter. We have people, and I am sure you all remember that we had Bishop Drexel Gomez was Bahamian, and he was the Bishop of Barbados. We have had here in Barbados representatives from St. Vincent, Guyana, St. Lucia, in all areas of life. We have been able to integrate. We've been able to intermarry. My wife is from St. Lucia, and I know several others whose husbands are from St. Kitts and whose wives are from Grenada, and we have integrated quite easily and quite well. The only people who don't seem to be able to get it done are the political leaders of our country, and I'm just going to leave that there for the time being. But as it relates to the budget, we heard the presentation by Mr. SHAWN on Monday, and I just want to make a couple of fundamental comments about it, as I have reviewed the concise version that was provided for me from someone sent it to me, and I was grateful for them having done so, from the Ministry of Finance Barbados, I believe Instagram and Facebook locations. And I took a look through the proposed, the budget, to see the different things that were proposed, were recommended, however you want to put it. And I must say that there was a degree of disappointment in a couple of areas for me. Now, let me not say that we are not grateful for any of government's attempt to help to reduce the cost of living in Barbados. We have been agitating for this for the last several years, to reduce the cost of living in Barbados. All right? Let me begin by making this point. I find great difficulty trusting the decisions of this government within the context of the promises you make and the promises you keep. Now, when we talk about the aspect of reducing the cost of living in Barbados, I noticed a couple of areas where they spoke of things like VAT on gasoline being capped at 47 cents per liter, VAT on diesel capped at 37 cents per liter, caps remaining until March 31st, 31, 2027. 2027. Note, that's what I'm looking at. Now, if they got the date right, I don't know. Or earlier, if global prices fall. The problem I have here is that it would suggest that that cap is likely only temporary. And as a result of that, there is a real probability. As a matter of fact, it goes on to say that excise tax on diesel and gasoline will drop by 10 cents starting the 1st of April. This means 15 cents less for each liter of gas and diesel for the next 3 months. And I want you to hear the specific, references that are given. Very often, remember, in a court case, the prosecution sounds really good until the counter is given. All right. Now, when I saw all of this, I began to think to myself, well, these seem in many instances or in several instances to be temporary measures. Now, when you use the word temporary, immediately my mind went back to, let me get the date correctly, November 2010, when the then Minister of Finance, Minister Chris Sinclair, announced in November 2010 that VAT was going to be increased from 15% to 17.5%. And it was a fiscal measure to address the country's deficit, and it was intended to be temporary, about 18 months. But it was later extended indefinitely. Now, remember, the word temporary was used. So whenever somebody uses the word with me within the context of government, it always causes me some concern, because here we have a temporary measure that was implemented only to last for 18 months, and that was in 2010. Here we are in 2026. If my calculations are correct, that is 16 years later. 16 years later, the VAT is still at 17.5%. I also want to say to you this evening that it was the Barbados Labour Party in their campaign of 2018 who made a commitment and promise, a clear campaign commitment to reduce the VAT from 17.5% back to 15%. And there were a number of rationales within the context of why they have not done that. But my position is a simple one. If you are in opposition and you are running for government, you ought to already know what is happening where the country's GDP is concerned, where the country's debt, because these things have to be revealed in Parliament. They have to be revealed in budget speeches and in the estimates. So it is not a matter of the wool being pulled over your eyes. You know what you are going into as the opposition if you are going to be presenting yourself to the Barbadian public to become the government. This is not a case where you're ignorant of what is happening. I'm very sorry. I know there are rationales in the context of why the Barbados Labour Party did not reduce the VAT from back to 15%. A number of things have been put forward, things like the scale of the fiscal crisis that they inherited. They were entering into IMF-supported program. It was a trade-off, broad VAT cut versus targeted relief, because while they did not across the board reduce VAT, they did on specific areas such as, I believe, tourism or something of that nature. The revenue dependency on VAT at the time when the country was going through significant fiscal challenges. But my point is, when you were in opposition, you knew what the state of the country's finances were. That is not something that can be hidden and dealt with in secret, just like the Minister of Finance has had to reveal to the country in the budget what the position is with regards to our indebtedness and so forth. He's had to reveal that through the estimates. All of these things have become visible for all of us to see, and we are hopeful that they are not playing with the figures, because I heard some years ago that a certain minister of finance at the time made the statement along the lines that you can make figures say anything you want to. So we have to be very vigilant with regards to that. So I want to begin my session, share my session this afternoon as we go into a continuous review of the budget. The fact that I am very concerned with the use, and the reason I brought up the matter of the VAT is because the word temporary has been used. And when something is temporary, it means that you can expect at some point in time that it will change. It will either go back to what it was, or it may increase for that matter. There are several other areas, and we'll be going through a number of them tonight. The aspects of the energy protection plan, where you're locking in fuel prices, protecting electricity bills, capping prices at the pump. In my discussions just today with some members of the Barbados Light and Power, which I'm not going to go into, the fuel adjustment charge is something that hasn't been touched as far as I'm aware, but we'll discuss that further tonight. But as far as I'm aware, that is one of the major contributors to your electric bill. And I think, too, something that we all need to understand, there is a variation of VAT within the context of your electric bill. The first 250 units of electricity that you utilize, the charge carries a 7.5% value-added tax. If you go in excess of that, the additional excess in terms of the kilowatts used and the dollar figure affixed to that kilowatt usage, which is shown on your electric bill, that is now taxed at 17.5%. But that does not treat to as far as I'm aware, that does not treat to the fuel adjustment charge. But anyhow, we'll get into that later on tonight. And then, of course, the other thing that came to my attention just today as I was driving around, I saw some young men on the side of the road. And, I must say that to some degree, it affected me. My heart sank, because I kept thinking to myself, here you are, and that what the government is offering to our young people is a substandard form of employment along the roadside. I'm talking about big, able-bodied young men who I believe have a dream, who I believe have innovative and creative capability. Sometimes we judge people based on where they come from within our society, and we determine on the basis of where they live and where they arrive from that they are not going to amount to anything. I'm sorry. Our history is filled with people who did not come from the heights and the terraces, and who have contributed substantially to the development of our country. And I really felt disappointed that in looking through the budget, I did not see anything or much, if at all, anything addressing the opportunity in a significant manner to our young people becoming entrepreneurs, utilizing their skills and abilities. I saw mention of things, but what I've found out is that government has the ability just to mention things, but they never, and the Minister of Finance can talk technically for however long he wants to. If he wants to talk for an hour and 15 minutes, he can. If he wants to talk for 10 hours, he can. And I felt that when you are dealing with the future of people, when you're dealing with very limited financial resources for the majority of the country, you need to drill down more than just making a casual passing comment about things. And I was disappointed in the lack of specifics when it came to some of the things that were promoted in the budget. And lastly, before we go into the other segment tonight, um, I didn't see anything, and forgive me, I'm not perfect, and maybe it was there. I looked through the concise information that was sent to me to see if I could find anything that would treat to housing and land reform and these different kinds of things. While I hear the mention of certain matters or certain things to do with agriculture, there didn't seem to be anything substantive to show a large scale engagement by the government to reduce our import bill by developing more idle property, idle land, instead of divesting it into building and housing and that kind of thing. As I drive around this country, it is almost everywhere I turn, I see good arable land that used to be in sugarcane going into housing. And it's concerning. You go down into St. Andrew, and you can hardly see anything really substantive happening in St. Andrew, in St. George, in St. John, in St. Joseph, some of the most fertile land that we have in the country. And, it is, I was a little disappointed that I didn't see something substantive to address these matters of agriculture, and also the aspect I'm talking about substantive comments, substantive information that could lead to the diversification of our economy and a removal of our sole dependence upon tourism. Look, and more often than not, I have learned from some of the people in the tourism sector that a lot of what we see in terms of figures is not truly reflective of the reality of what is happening in the tourism industry, but is more on the speculative aspect of what is given and what is requested by the government in terms of speculative bookings and all that kind of thing, and not real down-to-earth bookings. And that is something that should concern all of us, right? These are some of the comments I wanted to make this evening as my time draws to a close. I really am concerned about our young people. We talk about crime and violence. We hear the minister to do with that area talking about 2 gun courts, but gun courts are not going to bring a solution. We have to get these young men, young women actively engaged and involved in life, in future development. We have to give them a hope, because where there's hope, there's life. And that hope cannot just come in a gun court. A gun court is too late. The damage has already been done. What our young people need are opportunities, frameworks, facilitation being made by the government for them to be able to explore greater capability, whether it be through distant, I can't remember the exact reference, distant employment, where they live here in Barbados, but they're working for other people overseas, where they're able to bring their skills and abilities to bear in terms of not only their own benefit, but the benefit of the country. These are things that will help our young people steer away. And I want to see more involvement of professional persons in our schools. I'm not hearing, and I know it's done from time to time, but I'm talking about a large-scale move of initiatives that will help to address a very serious matter. We've already had some 15 murders for the year, I understand, and we are only 3 months into the year. That is about 12 to 15 weeks, almost a murder a week. So we have to do something, and I'm grateful. I heard something mentioned about from I don't know if it was from the DPP or one of the prosecuting attorneys making mention of something to do with going to jail rather than a fine if you're caught with certain weapons and a certain amount of ammunition, but you got to do something more than this, right? I have ideas. We all have ideas, And this is what the loyal opposition is about. And don't forget, 9 to 10 tonight is going to be where you, as the loyal opposition, are going to be able to call in and contribute your aspect in terms of the budget. And so I want to encourage you to do this, because I believe everyone in this country has a right to speak and a right to make suggestions where things are forthcoming from them that could help to alleviate certain aspects. I am not even going to get into no $5 million with the church because I have my concerns where that is concerned. If I want to see what is tied to that, I want to see those things. If that is going to be given to the church and there's going to be proper mechanisms put in place for the operation of it, the disbursement of it, this focus of it, and those kind of things, I want to see that first before I make any comment about it. That's why I say, it is really easy for people just to make casual statements and to make comments concerning what the government wants to do with regards to the budget. And I pay attention to what some of the experts are saying. For example, I understand economist Jeremy Stephen making a comment that it is very clear that the government is trying to use fiscal incentives to drive consumer expenditure. Well, if that's the case, I would want to suggest to the government that one of the things that will drive consumer expenditure is to reduce the value-added tax, put more disposable income in the hands of Barbadian public, and there is a real possibility that your revenues generated from that may increase because people will have more disposable income available to them, and things become a little cheaper for them to buy, and they're going to spend. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but this is where we are at. And there's several other comments. Quickly, I see Mr. Lord gave the minister's package a 6.5 out of 10. That suggests to me just a barely passing grade. That's 65% out of 100. And I take it from those men who know their business. All right. Now, of course, this is Wednesday night, and I am co-hosting with the very special lady who joins me, and I'm just waiting for her to give me a signal. Okie dokie. So there, oh dear, you added, and I was about to add, and I removed
Yes.
it. Good evening, Marcia. It's so good
Good
to see
good
you.
evening.
Good to
Good
see you.
evening.
You have a lovely background. Oh my goodness, beautiful. I love that. Lovely, lovely.
Thank you so much. It's great to be on. I just want to make sure that my mic, that can you hear me
I
well?
am hearing you clearly, and we're seeing you well.
Okay, wonderful,
Lovely.
wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ferdinand, for taking up the front for us there, and getting a lot, starting that out the gate,
Yes, yes. My
and
pleasure.
and
My
so
pleasure. My honor.
we really appreciate you and what you do. It's a real pleasure. Well, I want to also, before we even begin, because we have two guests tonight. We have
Yes.
Jamal. Jamal,
Lovely.
yes, Jamal is here, and he's not in as yet, but he should be in very soon. Jamal Sandiford is his name, and he was that David that ran against Mia Motley. And so he's coming on tonight to talk about some of the concerns that the youth have concerning the budget.
Yes.
So it's just going to continue on from last night. And we also have SHAWN TUDOR is going to be on, and he's going to be telling us like it is, breaking it down for us tonight as well, a little later in the program. So I know some of you said, I can see in the comment section, some people have said that they have shared already, etc. We're going to ask you just to take this moment while I'm waiting on Jamal to go ahead and to share and to like. People, we need your help. We need your help continually. Now, last night, folks, I want to say thank you to all of you who joined last night. We now have thousands of people who would have watched that broadcast last night. And I thank every single one of you. And I think that why this show has become a household name. It's because the show educates Barbadians. I hear this from people throughout today who called and said, Marcia, tell the team, because it is a team. It is a team. Thank you for last night. And I thank people on the spot there last night when they know who they are, that created such a beautiful set in hours. I want to thank them so very much. We had a very dedicated team of people, those who helped us with the sound, those with the streaming. We had 3 camera streaming, and you all did an amazing job. And I often say, Barbadians, that what this says to us is what we can do with a little. What we can do with a little as citizens, that we do not need to sit down and, watch things just fall apart around us. We don't need to just sit and watch our country fall apart around us, but we can do something about it. And that's what we did as citizens. We recognized that we didn't have Mr. Thorne this year. We had him 2 years in a row. There was 1 year there was Mr. Reverend Atherley. We don't have anybody there to do this, and so the citizens came together to make it happen. Okay, and so I am just grateful for that, and want to acknowledge that for every single one of you who came out, who left your home. And, all the chairs were filled where we were. I was told today people were sitting on the outside. People were sitting at another part of the headquarters, watching on a TV as they were, buying food, etc. And I just want to say to Barbados, I think you are getting it. That civil engagement, you are getting it. And I love it. And I want you to know we're not doing this because we have nothing better to do with our time. We're doing this as a commitment to our country, that as long as our country needs us, we're going to be there. We do not have a formal opposition to respond to this budget. And for the first time, I believe us as citizens, even those on the panel, these were all citizens. We didn't bring any experts there. We brought citizens, and we are grateful that you came out to see what we had. And the set, beautiful, the sound, the streaming person, when she came, she listened, she said, oh, Marcia, the sound is clean. The camera is good. And we give all praise to God, and we thank you
absolutely.
for your support. But we have JAMAL Sandiford with us. And I'm going to ask you folks to share. If you've just joined, and Marva Hunt said she was ill, but she watched it. Hi, Marva. Trust you feel better, and trust you feel better. Yeah. Teroni was there. Yeah. Marva said that's her adopted son, JAMAL Sandiford. Yeah. So I'm going to invite JAMAL to join us at this point. JAMAL, let me know if you're ready. Are you ready, JAMAL? Yeah, I think he says. Yes. Hi, JAMAL, good night.
Hi, good night.
Good night to you, JAMAL. Great to see you. Lovely blue.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Now, JAMAL, a lot of people don't realize it, but you're a student at the University of the West Indies.
No. Barbados Community College.
You know what? It's the other, because most of you are studying, and that's the thing. I'm mixing you all up. I'm so sorry.
It's understandable.
Yes. So you are at Barbados Community College, and what are you studying, JAMAL?
I'm studying art and entertainment management.
Wow.
Art and entertainment management. Why did you choose that?
Well, as a creative or a young creative, you're in the field all the time. I came up doing DJing. I came up doing photography and videography. Is actually how I make my bread and butter most times, apart from being a chef. So it felt naturally to venture into that area so that you could be on the managing spectrum of things. Funny enough, I actually was doing a bit of management for years before I decided to do the course. I got people brand deals. I sit them in offices and I negotiated for people, and that is what led me down this path to actually get the qualifications for something you're already doing.
Wow. So when you leave BCC, what are you going to, what you will have a diploma? What would you get in
Well, you have a
management?
degree. Yes, you have a degree in management.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also help build more connections and more relations to the people who also within the similar field who are also aspiring to become qualified and declared managers of art and entertainment management.
I see, because the synergies, you're working together there.
Correct.
That's always the beauty of being on a college campus. That you're connecting with everybody there. Now you just finished the elections, and everybody saw you were a candidate,
Yeah.
and you went back to BCC. Now,
hmm
what are your friends saying to you?
Well, a lot of people were kind of impressed. Others were just shocked. They were like, whoa, like they watched the speeches, they were impacted. They know that they're real, they're authentic, they relate to what I was saying. And then there's some that are a bit shy, and I understand why. Everybody is not necessarily a democratically a party supporter, and that is something as a democratic, with somebody with democratic perspective, we accept that. However, I'm saying that a lot more are interested in what I was doing, and I keep hearing, keep up with it, keep going. Young 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds are coming to me and telling me, yes, you did
Really?
well. Yeah, and especially because of who is up against that. Like, that even made it more cemented in their
Wow.
mind that
Well,
we have to be the next future leaders.
Marcia, this all went through my mind today as I was driving along the road, and I saw some young men working on the side of the street, doing grass and whatnot. And I wondered to myself, how many of them, like Jamal, may be chefs, but there's no opportunity for them to extend themselves into that area, and you give them a job cutting grass on the side of the road. I mean, it's almost an insult. I'm so disappointed in that aspect.
You know, what mentioned is something that I brought up last night as well, right?
Okay.
Before you decide to go and make plans, you should always, always, always plan to research. There's something called
Yes.
research and development, R&D.
Yes.
And it's important to do R&D because you can't know where you want to go or where you are before knowing where
Hmm.
you're coming from. So you need to do that research. And I think like what you just said is a critical thing. So many people are losing opportunities or missing
Yes.
opportunities because of lack of opportunity.
Of
There's no opportunity being placed there for them to venture into that path. As I said before, I love programs like Barbados Vacation and Training Board that afford people the opportunity to be able to learn off of a stipend, but there's not enough of that. That is
yes.
something that needs to
Yes.
be expanded on. We need to do some component on that, or we need to come and venture into a similar direction that actually pulls more people and start to funnel them down this path. If our country is supposed to be a country that thrives off of tourism, then why aren't chefs who participate in our cultural aspect in terms of the cuisine being
Yes.
seen as a
Yes.
valued resource? So there's so much thing that we
Absolutely.
could so much thing we could really see about this particular area and this particular issue. But yeah, there's definitely a underdevelopment of the youth, in my opinion, and
Yeah.
something that I could see being happening trickling down throughout the economy
Mhm.
itself.
Yes. As you're there at BCC and you're with your friends, Jamal,
hmm
the budget that was just read. Is it resonating with young people there at BCC? This 18-year-olds, the 16-year-olds, the 17, and even those older. Tell me what's the reality of it?
To be honest, even up to last night before we made it to the Royal Parliament, right? We actually met up with a young lady in Ramon's constituency on the way down. And I asked her personally as well as I asked majority of the people, what are your thoughts? It just dropped a couple of days ago, but what are your thoughts? And there was like, there's nothing to shout about. There's nothing to sneeze at. There is nothing that we can say
Correct.
definitely is going to impact our lives. So it was like, you know, and there was always this uninterest within it. And I can tell you there's a difference between when Ralph Farm is in as opposition leader and no.
Tell
You
me
know, but
more. Tell me
then,
about that. I want to know what tell me about that. I really want to know.
well, but then you actually had somebody who was there analyzing what you're budgeting for, you
Yeah.
know, analyzing how it's going to impact the lives of the Barbadians. No, it just seemed as though like whatever is placed there, you have to accept, you know, like so there's no diversity, there's no democracy, there's no open to suggestion. It's just whatever it is, and you have to accept it, right? So there's a difference. But then young people were actually interested in what Mr. Thorne had to offer and what he had to say. Yes, granted, they were coming from between some for some comical movement, you know, something they found interesting and comical. But
There
I mean,
used
but
to,
majority,
no, I want to tell you something about one. I saw. I don't want to forget it. So I'm cutting
that's
you.
funny. That's
I
funny.
saw these young people. And they were under, just on the block, and I was chatting with them. A lot of guys, a whole set of guys, and they said, "Man, we want to see Mr. Tom, Mr. Tom." And they say, "You're hungry? You're hungry? You're gonna starve!" And they burst out laughing, and
There we go. There we go. So even that element, you know, even that element is missing from within the budget, right? But I want to zero in on how you're talking about youth for a second. How the youth now will probably begin to perceive Parliament going forward. If they're already at the first sight of the budget are not that interested, they're losing interest within the budget itself. It means that you could probably look forward to them losing budget going forward, losing interest in the budget going forward. You
Mm.
know, so far I'm waiting to hear what the ministers for youth have to say because then I know the youth definitely will zero in and see how does this help them, you know. So that is what we are really waiting for. But so far, it's nothing to sneeze at. It's nothing to praise. You know, they're offering $100 per month to the seniors of our society, to the pensioners, and as I already said before, that's not enough. There's nothing we can do about it at this time, but we will pay close attention and see where we could actually improve on. Uh, I don't want to speak too much on their manifesto right now. So far, we've seen they're trying to implement the stuff that they claim they want to do. And it seems like it might have been an improvement since 2018. However, you know, there's still a lot that they haven't done. And there's a common trend that we're finding a lot that they haven't done. They just say things to get into to office, right?
You
Which is
know,
really democratic. Pardon?
no, Jamal, you mentioned the $100 allowance offered to pensioners, a month. But when you break
Hmm.
that down into a week, and then you break that down into transportation and food, it's almost disingenuous to my mind because even $100 a week, you can't really go into the supermarket and make a significant difference in what you purchase.
You might get two extra bags
You
if you're
might,
lucky.
but but now you're saying to them $100 a month. They're still having, and I respect the fact that a lot of our senior citizens still travel by public transportation. That's where a lot of
Yes,
them
yeah.
travel.
Yeah,
And even though there is some compensation there in terms of them being able to travel free and so forth, we appreciate that, and we're not going to ignore that. Uh,
definitely not.
yet, yet at the same time, when they go into the supermarket, and you're talking about elderly persons coming out with three, maybe four bags, if they can come up with that much. Sometimes they even have to get a taxi. I've seen this with my eyes, where they
Yes.
have to take a taxi because they are not able to carry the couple of bags that they have because they are older. And this, so to me, it's almost a slap in the face. And I appreciate that they're trying, but maybe they needed to have better consultation with persons who engage, that area, like the Barbados, what is that organization, Marcia,
Bar
to do with Barbados Association of Retired Persons,
correct.
engaging those persons at that level.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes.
actually I have to second that. I believe that what was missing is I think a thorough needs assessment. In other words, I don't know how many people would have been canvassing during this election before they came up with the manifesto, because to me, that is what you do. You do a thorough analysis on what the country is facing, the issues that plague the country, and you come up with solutions that the entire party could agree with. That should be the mandate no pun intended, so that you could actually have a solution for the public, right? Instead, what we're finding is that this budget is just a calling of figures. Oh, we want to do this, so
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
just put some money towards this. And I don't believe it's actually the wisest thing. I believe what should have been done is a thorough assessment, and then you would notice, wait, hold a second. Too many people are complaining that their homes, especially as elders,
yes,
need repairing. Too many people are complaining that you know what, this pension is not enough, and let's do a poll. Take the left to do polls. Let's do a poll seeing if this $100 is enough, is adequate, and if not this $100, then get an estimate on what would be enough so that people could feel like they could live during these harsh economic times. I'm not saying that they're not doing anything at all. I'm saying that it's not really that impactful, and it begs the question: how much contribution are you really receiving? Right? It really begs the question. So for me, I think that they really need to. I wouldn't say go back to the drawing board, but at least consult with your citizens. Find out
yes,
exactly how you
yes.
can help instead of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if it sticks, because
Yeah.
I don't think we have the opposition to debate it. So what they do is just want to be accepted. But I just think that they really need to. I want you to work here, but be considerate of the citizens.
Yes. I'm here looking at the social protection expansion that they have outlined in the budget, and you've been talking about it. $100 monthly cost of living credit for pensioners and vulnerable groups, and then the pensionable taxable allowance increased to 75,000. And then they talk about the multiple birth grant, $300 for twins, 600 for triplets, right? And you and it's up to 8.5 that you get this. And then of course, everybody knows about the 5,000 birthright investment per child born after November 30, 2021. And the funds are usable for education and housing in Barbados. Now, I want to ask you, you are a young man. Do you have any children as yet? Am I?
Not as yet. Not as yet.
Okay, I hope I'm not outing you there. No children as
Don't
yet?
worry. Not
All
as
right,
yet.
not as yet. But you
Not as
plan
yet.
to have children?
Yes, most definitely. But what I
Now,
will say about that is
mhm,
that in these times it would be very challenging,
Yes,
right?
yes.
To have a child right now. And I get what they're doing in terms of trying to lend some form of aid at this time, right? But you really have to ask yourself, right? Is the extra money that they're claiming you're going to receive for having children at this time really enough?
but
You know,
remember,
like,
it's only for twins and triplets.
oh boy. So
I
no,
mean, how
so no,
many?
you have
How
to
many?
no, you
No,
have to
no, no.
spend
Let me
double
hear him.
or
Let him
triple the
finish. Go
money.
ahead, Jamal. Finish, Jamal.
So in other words, no, you have to spend double or triple the money, especially where people are working in contracts that only last 3 months. And I can tell you personally, I know people that were even working for CXC, I'm not gonna call any names, right? That were working for them and their contracts did not get renewed. And they actually had to venture into entrepreneurship to stay afloat. So this is just one of the concerns. So imagine if this lady was pregnant at this time, and some of them who actually do have children, and I don't think that this money is going to be enough. Imagine they had to get a twin or a triplet now. They got to provide for each other or already have
But
in conjunction to what they're about to birth.
who the joke in this, Jamal and Marcy, you got to forgive me, but the joke in this is how you're going to determine twins and triplets. You don't really have a lot of decision making process where that is concerned.
You
I
never
mean,
do.
there's nothing out there sitting somewhere that you can go and pick up and place in a lady's womb to determine that she gets twins and she gets triplets. I mean, this is so. I mean, why not just make it as Felicia Dujon was suggesting, a universal family allowance,
I really
and
think it should be.
yeah, and
That
stop
that is what you see
reducing.
what she did there?
Yeah,
What Felicia did there is she exercised something called consideration, which I'm saying that
yes,
there's a lot of where this government is concerned. You know, it seems as though they're just doing something to say they did it, not to have the maximum impact that it can have.
Do you guys know? Go ahead, Dr. Ferdinand.
No, Marcia, I'm just trying to overcome. I'm just trying to overcome the idea of an allowance being provided for twins and triplets. I mean, let's go to the medical and health information to see how many of them you have in a year.
That is a
Yeah,
very good
You
idea.
yeah.
know.
So
You see?
that's information that I wanted to share.
Oh, let's go.
Oh,
That
go ahead.
I wanted to share that Barbados has around 3,000 births in any typical year. Okay,
Hmm.
Yes, yes.
and on average, only 30 to 40 sets of twins are born in Barbados each year. So you're telling me this is supposed to be a social protection or social relief, and it is only going to go to about 30 or 40 persons. Now triplets would be way less. I can't
Yes.
tell the
Significantly
last
so.
time I see somebody who has had triplets. I mean, this sound like what? Let me. It's
I
yours.
mean,
Yours. Go ahead, Jamal. Go ahead. You finish up
All right.
because you have another 7 minutes. Go ahead, Jamal. This is your
Well, no
time.
problem. All right, this is what I'm saying, right? And it's going to be very, very tough to say, right? The truth is, you, I don't want to say incompetent, but that's what I was trying to say before. There's a lot of development, there's a lack of analysis. It seems as though you're just throwing things out there to see if it sticks. No, brought some interesting information to the table. 40, 40 twins
30 to
compared to
40.
30 to 40 twins compared to 3,000 people on average. So, in other words, only 40 people or expected 40 people would be receiving this benefit. And you're calling for this money. This is not justifiable. I think that we really need to keep a close eye on this budget because the things that they're doing clearly don't help the masses. They don't help the masses. The best thing that I could see about it is the 5,000, sorry, yeah, $5,000 one. That idea we know is not original. We know that come from America. We saw Mr. Trump decide that he was going to offer $1,000. She multiplied the number by five. And I think you still have to wait a substantial amount of time before you're even able to request this money. So how has any of these the solutions that they're providing to us going to immediately impact or have immediate effect on this economy?
You know that they're up to 2024 and 2019, 2024. Those are the stats we're finding online, that there have been zero triplets born in Barbados. And this is why they don't like this show, Jamal. They don't like this show because we are going to break it down, and we're saying that, from what you're saying to me, it's like you are pretending to give me something.
That's
It's a
it.
pretense,
that's
because
correct.
it's a pretense. There were zero triplets born in 2024. I do not have 2025. I have 2029. It's a very rare thing to have triplets in
Very.
Barbados, and you have 30 to 40 twins. And you are telling us that this is supposed to be social protection. This is what you're offering. Now, somebody made mention, Jamal, to the 5,000
Dollars.
dollars that you will get, but it's at 18 years old, when your parents would have had to take care of you. So
But
every person who's had a one child, which is the normal mother in Barbados, okay, 2,700, 2,000 whatever, because 2,000, what's that, 970, right?
mm-hmm.
Would have single, a normal parent, normal births, one live birth, okay? And you're telling me that everybody else will have to suck salt, right? But these 30 persons, because we don't really have triplets, are the ones you plan to take care of until 5. This is nothing. This is not absolutely nothing. But
Correct.
Well, we have 3 minutes. There, Jamal, give us your final word before you go, my brother.
Well, my final word will be this. I know the youth is anticipating the Minister of Youth. We are waiting to hear how they are going to impact the lives of the youth. Because if it's one thing that we're certain of, is that the youth is now. So we want things now. And there's nothing wrong with looking into the future. There's nothing wrong with saying, well, things will come quickly or things will come easily, but we need something substantial. We don't want any of these bills like, oh, you gotta wait 18 years to receive something. Because we need things to happen for us now. We need the jobs now. We need the opportunities now. And that is why we like to say on the behalf of the youth. I'm not the spokesperson for you, at least not yet anyway. But I'm saying that we need to take more critical attention. We need to be
Mhm.
extremely mindful where the youth is
Yes.
concerned. And I will not forget my seniors because I'm going to tell you now that $100 is not enough. That is not enough. I think if they were even to add five, it may now start to begin to feel like you're actually concerned and considerate
Mhm.
of our citizens. So I think five would have been a better place to start. That's what I would advocate for. And I would also say like we need to see programs for the seniors, not just a pay of $100 bill. We need to see that you're going to assign people to some of the ones that they need. Everybody does not have the affordability to go to a home, but there's so many young people out here who would love the opportunity to do care of the elderly. We have an unemployment rate with the young people. Why not funnel some of those same young people into some of the homes of the elderly? While giving the young people the chance to get opportunity, to gain financial benefit while caring for the seniors. Two birds, one stone. That this is just one of the ideas that we could be doing. When you think about benefiting the country, you think about actually helping this country. So that's why I'm hoping that someday I'm awarded the opportunity to get in the parliament so that we could actually start solving the problems that the nation faces.
If I can, just before he jumps off, Marcia, Jamal, one of the other things with senior citizens that concerns me because I'm not one. I don't know Marcia, but I'm not a senior citizen as yet. Um, but it's the whole matter of land tax. Again, the removal of land tax after you have served your country 65 years and over, you're still paying land
Yeah.
tax. That's one of the things I'd
All
like
right,
you to
yeah.
keep on mind.
But
Eh?
yeah, but we're going to have to close this segment because we have Sean Tudor waiting. So thank you, and I'm really hoping, as somebody said, keep DLP TV running. But and we would all like to see that. But I want to tell you, Jamal, that anytime you don't have night classes, etc., and you don't have to study, this is a place for you because we want to keep seeing you guys. And if this platform can help that until you guys have the DLP TV, you better believe
All right.
you can call me anytime. Okay?
Okay, really appreciate it, Marcia. All right,
Yes?
thank you. Yes, please.
All
All right,
right.
you
God
can
bless you.
get in touch to be here.
God
Yes, yes.
bless.
And it was a joy to see you on Sunday, as well at
At
the
the
lunch. Can
luncheon.
you take a minute out of Sean's time to thank the loyal opposition if you want to?
Yes, most definitely. I listen. I
I
on the
saw you
behalf
with your cup. I saw you with your cup. Sorry.
yes, I make sure I take it everywhere with me so everybody knows that I am really grateful and appreciative of what you guys have done for us. I have to say this as well, right? Every time that I see that cup, it is a reminder that I'm doing the right thing. It is a reminder that people out here are
My
depending,
God.
and I feel an obligation to continue because sometimes it does get challenging, and every now and then you do get doubts. But the gesture that you guys have shown us, the past candidates for the Democratic Party in the last general elections, will not be forgotten. And I would say, on behalf of them, we thank you, and we look forward to you guys continuing to support us so we can continue to support you. All right?
Yes. And as long as you keep doing the right thing, because this same show will become a sword to you if you don't do the right thing. I'm telling you
You better
that truth.
believe it. You better
Believe
believe
Understandable.
it.
it.
I'm in it for the right reasons, so you don't have to worry.
All right, good. All right. Okay, Jamal.
Love
God bless.
Right. Good
God
evening.
bless.
All
Yes,
right.
okay, God bless.
Uh,
Oh wow, that's really
yeah.
really wonderful. Well,
Yes.
we're going to switch gear now, and that brings such joy to all of us to see them. And you know, I saw him at the event yesterday. He had his cup in his hand, with his picture on it, his constituency that was donated by the loyal opposition. And so I want to say thank you again to everybody. You see how much joy you brought to him and the big smile on his face, guys? That's you. That's you. You did that, Barbados. Now, we're going to go into this discussion here with Sean, and I can't wait to let him loose. And he's Sean Tudor, and he was so amazing last night. And he said to me, Marcia, I'm ready to come on now because I want to explain some more. And I need you. Before he comes on, I am going to ask you, everybody, to please go ahead and share. Like, please, if you have not done so yet, everybody who is on, can you just pause a moment and like the program and share? Everybody in your WhatsApp groups, everywhere. Okay. I'm trying to see if I can do it as well without making too much noise here. So everybody take a moment and do that. Somebody wants to know what time to call in. I'm calling at 9 p.m., folks. People can't wait to call in, you know. Huh? Yes, yes, yes. So now let us see, let us share, let us like and share. Have you done that? Have you done that, folks? We need it. We need you to like it. Hit the thumbs up button. Important. Come on Facebook. You're watching on Facebook. Thumbs up. Like, share, and subscribe. You will see the word subscribe. Subscribe. Hit it as well. Okay, guys? And let's build something together for us. This show that we did last night, this roadside parliament that we did inside, is our inside edition of our roadside parliament. We now there are thousands of people who have watched this already. That's the power of what we do here, and this is what they're afraid of. And again, I want to just thank all of you. Yes, I'm seeing people are saying that they've liked and shared already. Yes, very good. Somebody watching from New Jersey. Very good. Very, very good. Well, Sean is here, and I'm just going to invite him in right now. Sean, good night, Sean Tudor.
Good night. Thank
Good
you
evening,
very much.
Sean. Good to see you, my
Yes,
fellow
yes,
constituent.
yes. We're quite close here. We're quite
Yes.
close here. Thank you so much. It was indeed a pleasure to be on there last night and to meet Jamal and the energy that this young man has. And,
Oh
I had
wow.
a chance to chat with him afterwards. Truly, the future is bright. I was indeed heartened. I left there feeling good about the future when I see young men like him who really have got it going on, and he has a heart for the constituents, for the people, and it was the issues that the people had that drove him into, becoming the candidate this time. So I was really pleased to see him, and yeah, that's good. And we did have a good chat about the budget last night, and it was the first time I was on anything live for a long time, so took a little time to settle into that. And even tonight, I was fiddling for about 20 minutes trying to get set up here. Haven't done a live for a long time, but yeah, we're here, and think I'm ready to go through. So I start with the debt to GDP
But
period.
before you jump in, okay, we're ready to let you loose, and I think Dave has all of your stuff ready. But you said something to me about last night. You said, it was beautiful, and you also said you learned something, and I want you to talk to the people because I think it's important for you to say it to them.
I think what surprised me is to find that almost every person there, and that was a snapshot of Barbadians. People had things that they were expecting to hear from the government and from the budget. So the Barbadians weren't just sitting there passively listening. Let me see what they come up with. There were things that people saw as obvious responses to needs, and people were listening to hear something in those areas. And majority of people there said they were, quite frankly, they were disappointed that the budget did not seem to address the real needs of ordinary people. And that is what I found quite surprising, that it was not just a passive listening, but people had very specific things they wanted to hear.
Yes, I loved when you said that. And one of the things you and I were both saying, how we learned from the people there last night. We also learned from them, right?
Yes, we did. It was for me. It was very interesting to hear how the young man that was there with me, how he broke down the things, broke it down. Went into so much detail about what it actually meant for him and for people around him. And as for Miss Carolyn Rock, to hear how she articulated the psychological impact that these things have, and to be able to cut through all the fluff and to recognize that what the government is essentially trying to do is to create this level of dependence rather than empowering the citizens as a whole to be able to get on with their lives. You keep doing this little I do this little thing for you in this budget, I do this little thing for this group, and I do this little thing here and there, rather than broad-based things that would allow people to get on with it and to make something more of themselves and what opportunities there are around them. That was interesting as well.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Sean. Well, we want to let you loose tonight, and we want you to just go right ahead into what you want to share with us tonight. Go right ahead, Sean.
Well, one of the primary things that I wanted to explain and to say to Barbadians was to make it clear that, when the government says we're carrying the debt down and we're this and so on, but for the average Barbadian to recognize that the quantum of debt is still very much the same. What has actually changed is the debt to GDP ratio. And that has come down from 158 to under 100 now. So as the Minister of Finance said, 93.3%. That has come down because the GDP has gone up. Right? The GDP has been rebased, and the GDP has gone up. So if you are dividing by a larger number, then the percentage or the ratio gets smaller, and that really is the issue. So let me just say what the figures were. When the new administration took over, the debt there was 15.84 billion. For the first time, we had some of the debt was repudiated. I think it was $1 billion from NIS, 1.3 from the central bank, or the other way around. And then, to their credit, the government was able to renegotiate and restructure some of the debt, and to be able to write off some more. And I think the total write-down between repudiation and restructuring is 4.1 billion off that 15.84. And then, so that came down. And at the end of 2019, the debt was recorded at 12.75 billion.
Right.
But at the time, like at May 31st, it was 15.84 billion. And there was some repudiation and some restructuring. At the end of the year, it was recorded at 12.75 billion. And from there, what has actually happened is that the government has borrowed more and more, and the debt has been increasing and increasing. As you can see here in this other graph, the debt has been increasing. The graph on the right-hand side, you can
That's
see
figure 4. Let me see if I can get that up by itself. So keep talking. We're going to try to put that up by itself. Thank you.
Right. So you have recorded at the end of 2018, 2019, 12.75 billion. 2019, 12.32 billion. 2020, 12.81 billion. 2021, 13.31 billion. 2022, 14.22 billion. tw- 23, ended 23, 14.7 billion. Then ended 24, 14.8 billion, and now we have it registered at 15.1 billion. So we are
But Sean,
almost
can I ask just for the clarity for the viewers? So they are if you're looking at the screen right now, because we're into education here, the blue bar, that is the debt, okay? And you will notice, all you've got to notice, everybody, my seniors, everybody, each time you just watch that bar, the blue bar, and you will see that it is the highest in 2025, and that is our public sector debt. Okay, in Barbados at the moment. And to Sean's credit, Sean, this came from the central bank report. Is that what you're saying?
the source of the data is the central bank, but this graph was actually in the budget document. It was actually in the budget document. I think it's page 21 of the appendix. The previous slide that I was sent there has on the page. This was actually in the document that the Minister of Finance was reading. We didn't make this graph. This chart was actually presented by the government. So at the same time, when you are saying that the debt is going down, what really is going down is the debt to GDP ratio. The quantum of debt is still very much the same, and you can see that has been steadily increasing year by year. And this on the chart, this on the screen is what the government presented. This is not what we didn't even create this chart. This was just a copy of what the government presented. Right, and that's page 21 in
21. But as you're on this, I want to ask you something. Know that we mentioned it last night, but when you take this debt that we have here in 2025, right, and you divide it by the number of persons who live in Barbados, okay? This is the debt per capita ratio, because sometimes we use this terminology and everybody doesn't understand. But when you take that debt that we're looking at, everybody look at 2025, you see that is the highest one, and we're at, is it 15 point what again, Sean? You have the numbers there?
15.1 billion.
15.1 billion in 2025, and when you divide that by the population, the total population in Barbados, and then you divide the what we had, 15.84 in 2018 by the population at that time, what is the debt that each of us carry? That is the debt per capita.
Okay. Let me get the exact. So in 2017, it was 56,597. This is if we accept that the population is 280,000. Right? We're using 280,000 for both times because there hasn't been much change. So in 2017, the debt per capita, the debt per every citizen in Barbados, 56,597. Here now, 25, 26, at the end of this year, or as it stands right now, 53,900. So you basically, it is like 56,000 versus 54,000. That's what it is, 56,000 versus 54,000. So the quantum of debt per capita has not really changed. It's just a slight marginal difference, because the debt is almost back to where it was in 2018. 56,000 versus 54,000, Marcia.
Yeah, per person. And I think, Dr. Ferdinand, it's important. This is an important piece of it that you're not going to hear. You're not going to hear it from the government. And that's why we have to tell you, important. That's why I ask everybody to share the show. You're not going to hear it. Mr. Thorne is not here to tell the people this. And so we are telling you. David's going to put up a graphic here. And this is why we do these things, Sean, because we're trying to educate. Just look at the screen. It give and take depending on where you get the population,
Yeah.
the information, but a few thousands give and take, but it's saying 54 or 55. So look at it. This was what it was in 2018 on the left, everybody watching that, and then look on the right, 54 to 86. There's not much of a change. It changed by about $2,000 difference over reduction over 8 years. This is what has happened in Barbados, Bajans. We are carrying this debt. The debt per person is still over $50,000 Bajan dollars per person. Any comment there, Dr. Ferdinand? You're muted. While we wait on Sean,
Yeah,
after Dr. Ferdinand, he'll go
yeah.
again.
$54,286 per person, which means that technically to get out of debt, government would have to collect that from every single Barbadian, working Barbadian. And Sean, I think it even gets worse.
No,
Sorry.
no, but it's not working Barbadian. Let's be clear
No,
here.
no, I understand that.
Okay.
But the reality is that while that is per Barbadian, it's only the working Barbadian that could pay that, which means that that figure is actually going to grow astronomically in terms of the people who would qualify to be able to make payment for the national debt in the context of however you want to term it, taxes or whatever, to try to reduce the national debt that Barbados carries. I understand the aspect of per person in the country, but in terms of, okay, if that's the debt per person and we're looking to eliminate the debt that Barbados has, that's going to get even worse because there are not 280,000 working people in Barbados.
Correct.
That's going to get worse.
Yeah. Before you answer there, Sean, there's a comment on the screen. So just hold your comment there, Sean. It says, with all due respect, no individual citizen is going to pay 54K. This is for the sake of discussion only. And you see, this is where this person gets it wrong. This is where we're not saying here that everybody will be asked to pay. They're going to go to the baby because the baby who was just born in the hospital is due. This is the debt that when they're born. This is the national part of the national debt that they will be due to pay. We're not saying they're asking the baby, but it needs to be more than don't say, oh, this is just for discussion only. This is a very, very serious thing. This is why the pensioners cannot get more than what we can't take care of the social services in our country. But Sean, can you add anything else that I've said to this viewer who is thinking that is?
I understand what the person who's commenting is saying, but the point that Dr. Ferdinand is making is also valid. Because it is the taxpayers that pay, it is the taxpayers that pay, and so on, right? The school children, the babies, the primary school children are not being asked to pay. They're not transacting things. They're not spending and creating, having VAT transactions. They're not paying income tax and so on. So you get to see, but the debt per capita is in order to compare countries and see what the debt load is per country, and so on per citizen. And this is in order to compare. We weren't able to get the update from Bruce, but Bruce had done some work on debt per capita, and we were carrying one of the higher debt per capita of any country that was in the IMF program, but we weren't able to get that update from him. So it is not that we are saying that the individual people are going to be asked to pay this, but it gives you a gauge of the debt load in the country, apart from the debt to GDP ratio, which is normally used to compare and look at the situations in the country. And we've spoken about the debt, but I also want to talk about the GDP if I can go on.
Yeah, go right on.
Yes,
go right on.
Right. So what has happened is that we have the situation where the GDP has been rebased, and we'll explain that more. But as you rebase the GDP, you normally get an uptick in it, an uptick in the GDP as you adjust so you have a base year for which you hold the prices constant against that base year as a deflator so that you can compare the real output and so on. After a while, you actually have to adjust it, and the GDP was rebased again. I understand. I think the the minister actually said that in 2023. So actually, it is not a bad thing. The government is not doing, I want to be very clear, the government is not doing anything wrong, anything underhand. It is actually in the government's interest to rebase the GDP and, and to have the figures and to have the ratios that are based on GDP look better. It is not something like underhand that the government is doing, but we need to understand what the ratios are actually telling us. An improvement in debt to GDP does not say that the output in the country has really improved. It doesn't say that there's more diversification in the economy, that the economy is more resilient. It doesn't say that that income per capita has increased. It doesn't say that people are better able to afford their groceries during the week. But still, it is good and right for the government to make the adjustment to the GDP. If you can put back up that page there
Yes.
again.
And Dave, what when you are, while we're waiting for the page to be put back up, Sean, you're doing such a great job. Dr. Ferdinand has a suggestion here to, once again, we did it last night, but just to quickly define what the GDP is, because sometimes we're using this terminology and people don't necessarily understand. So just take a minute or so quickly and just explain that. Thank you.
Well, the nominal GDP is output prices. It's a broad measure of the economic activity in the country. Broad measure of the economic activity in the country. Output times prices. Prices surge, nominal GDP surges. Right? So that's what you. So when you're talking about GDP, you're trying to gauge the economic, the level and the quantum of economic activity in the country. Right, and but nominal GDP responds to inflation. Okay, so it is not. So I want to be clear. We're not saying the government is cooking the books, anything like that. We're not trying to, nothing like that. We're not what we're saying. We're just saying what we've had is a rebasing, and it causes the GDP, the nominal GDP figure, to become larger, and therefore you are dividing by a bigger number, and the ratio gets smaller. It's simple numerator denominator type of thing.
Okay. So Sean, if I could just again, the teacher in me. So if the debt is 10, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the debt is the numerator, right? The debt is 10. And the denominator is the GDP.
Yes.
Right. So in order to get, because it's just a matter of, we do numbers. You did accounting. It's about manipulating. Manipulating might be. I'm not using it negatively. It's all if the denominator is bigger, right, than the numerator, remember school, you're going to get a lower, the answer is going to be lower. Okay, so if the denominator is 20, you're going to get a lower answer than if it was 10, right? You're going to get a smaller, I should use the word smaller, thank you, Dave, a smaller answer. And so basically what is going on is that the denominator is made up of output times price, right? Times prices. And with inflation, the prices are going to are hitting the roof. So you will always, when there, to say if you have this runaway inflation, you're going to have a bigger denominator, and therefore you get a smaller GDP. All right. So we just want to explain, especially if you're using the nominal method and not using real GDP.
Right.
Okay. So we just plus the rebasing. Right.
So that the debt can be increasing while the debt to GDP ratio is falling, as long as the GDP is rising faster than the debt. The ratio will become smaller. So that the ratio becoming smaller doesn't mean that the debt is itself is going down. It's
Precisely.
the ratio. It's
Yeah.
the ratio, right? And with a rebasing, the most significant exercise that they've had with this rebasing, there's this case study with Nigeria. In 2014, they announced that they were going to represent the 2013 GDP, and they rebased it based on I think it was based on 2010 figures. They had not rebased since 1990, and they were able to literally get an 82% increase in GDP just from rebasing, and their debt to GDP obviously fell significantly because they rebased. And so rebasing, there are several advantages for rebasing. And
Can you explain what is rebase, Sean?
the
Because
year
somebody wants to know. They said you use the word rebase and repudiate, and they want to know because we on here we learn.
you have to get a year from which you then use that year, and the prices from that year, and then you go forward using that as a deflator with the price, as so it's not to just be recording expansion, but to be actually recording the real growth. That's what you want to record. So you use a base year and the price is there in a particular base year. Ours was 2016. Now we've had it at 2023. The one with the repudiating the debt is like you recall that there was a decision just made by the government at the time to just not repay like some debt to the NIS and to the central bank. So that's what we mean by repudiate. Just decided that's just wrote it off.
Right. Yeah, they wrote off the debt. That's what you mean by repudiate. But let me take you back to what you were explaining, why with Nigeria and other countries, why it's important.
Yes.
The rebasing, how it helps them. Go ahead.
Right. And then what happened is after a while, like there may be emerging economy, there may be emerging sectors that their activity is underreported. So if you may have the agriculture just done at 3%, but something might have changed significantly, and you have a much larger is contributing a much greater percentage to that sector. So you rebalance and so on. You rebalance it. So rebasing helps you to more accurately reflect what the snapshot of the economy and how prices are moving and so on, right? So it is to the government's advantage. It makes the reporting more up to date. The international financial institutions actually want you to continually do rebasing so that you're comparing like with other countries. The data is more accurate and more reflective. So the government is not in any way doing anything wrong or anything out of hand by rebasing the GDP. It is what is required. It's necessary. And what comes out of it, what often comes out of the GDP, most often because we are living in an inflationary environment, not a deflationary environment. So usually it will bring an uptick in the GDP from, anywhere from 20% you can get when you rebase under the circumstances. And therefore, you immediately get a lower debt to GDP ratio just from the rebasing. You get it lowers the deficit relative to the GDP. And it lowers the ratio of any metric that's expressed as a percentage of GDP. And as you can see, when you look at the first set of like appendix in the central bank report, you go to the back, majority of the ratios and so on there are expressed as a percentage of GDP. That first page there in the appendix in the central bank report, you see the majority are expressed as a percentage of GDP. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's everything right about that. The country's debt burden appears to be less. The country is viewed more favorably by external investors. No one wants to invest in a country that appears to have an excessively high debt burden. So you don't get foreign direct investment. The investors shy away. Who wants to buy your debt? The interest rate that you have to pay on the debt is much higher. So it is in every country's interest to continue and to do the rebasing on a regular basis and keep updating the data and the profiles. So and it often leads as well to improve credit ratings. It's not an automatic thing because there are other things that are considered, but it moves the country. It moves the country's ratio and the country's like ratios and statistical ratios in a more favorable direction. Right? So Barbados has benefited from that. But what it does not say, what the debt to GDP ratio is not saying is that there is so much greater output in Barbados. We know that there's not 60% higher output, because if you look at the GDP of 10.5 billion in 2018 in Europe to 16 billion now, it's just under 60, like 56% or somewhere up there. We can. It's not the lived experience of Barbadians that the economy has improved 50% in the last 6, 7, 8 years. That's not the lived experience of Barbadians. The output hasn't increased that much, but because we're dealing with nominal GDP, that's what you will get. The declining ratio.
Yeah. Actually, I sent a graphic to Dave, which would show if it wasn't rebased, what it would possibly be in 2026, where it would be more close to 108, to 110%. If it wasn't rebased. And as you said, this is what is done because we know that, you got to look, to investors. It needs to be palatable. It needs to be, people are going to, when they look at 94% or 93% versus 108 says, oh, well, this is a better situation. Especially you're seeking investors, this is better. But what does it mean to us as Barbadian? What's the real? What does it mean to the amount of debt? What is it saying? Is what you're actually explaining.
Yes, and the minister mentioned, the minister of finance did mention about the psychological barrier. There's a huge difference between 94% debt to GDP and 104% debt to GDP. There's you cross that psychological line of 100, it makes a huge difference. And so the minister is correct. It is a psychological barrier. International investors do look at it. It makes a difference. So if you get all your ducks in a row, you do the work that you need to do, you get the statistical department, ministry, everybody under supervision, IMF, whoever else, and you get your figures, you get your ratios moving in the right direction, it is better for the government. What we must not confuse that with is that it is better for the average householder. That is the difference. But certainly, any ratio that's based on GDP looks way better when you rebase and the GDP appears to have expanded, 10-15%. It does, and it is the right direction, and it is what every government ought to be doing. They ought to be having their figures look great. And the classic example was Nigeria and so on. And there is somewhere where, yes, the UN recommends that people rebase every 5 years. So I expect that we will have another rebasing probably based on 2028. So maybe in 2029 we will be rebasing, again on 2028. And quite frankly, with how if energy prices remain elevated during this period and over the next year and so on and so on, when you rebase like that, you will lock in some of the inflation. And with that next rebasing exercise, even with the same quantum of debt, we could see the minister reporting 80% debt to GDP, 78, anywhere down there with just from the rebasing exercise. It would get down there. And quite frankly, even with a rebasing exercise based on rebasing, say 28, we could add another billion onto the debt and still be under 90% debt to GDP. If you can get 15-20% through from the rebasing exercise. So it is part of how financial reporting is done for the government. And but the point I'm making here is that we must not confuse this huge improving of the ratios, the economic ratios, with the livelihood and the home economy of the average Barbadian in improving to the same extent. No, it hasn't. That's not the lived experience. But because we don't get to divide our bills and our debt and what we owe the bank by any GDP factor and so on, right? And the salaries that we are getting doesn't increase like that. We don't get to rebase the salaries. You get 1%, 2% here and there, and so on. So the lived experience of the average householder is not quite the same as how it is adjusted here when the ratios, the government's economic ratios, are adjusted.
But Sean, when we speak of the debt to GDP ratio, are we not speaking of the total government debt divided by the goods and services produced in the country, the value of those goods and services produced in the country? Are we not reflecting on those two factors? Of course, you go by the 100 to get the percentage. But if the debt is increasing and there is not a compatible increase in the GDP, which is the total value of the goods and services in a country, are we going to suffer from a greater debt to GDP ratio?
Yeah, if the GDP is contracting, obviously, and the debt is still the same, obviously the ratio would be higher. But you're not going to get that kind of scenario in an inflationary environment.
And are we seeing, from what research you've done, are we seeing a movement of the total value of goods and services in Barbados in an upward trajectory?
I don't have well, I think the governor and the central bank would have to go back to the first, the earlier part of the report. I think it'd be around like 2.7% growth that the governor is expecting, 2.7, which is normal and which is good. Anything 2 to 4% growth is good, and that's what I think that's what.
And that would be coming from, what area of the economy in the country? I mean, the biggest one is tourism. We're not doing a whole lot where manufacturing is concerned. We're not doing anything where agriculture is concerned. In terms of investment, what is it? Are we seeing a significant increase where investment is concerned in the country?
I think I don't have I would have to pull back up the report here, but obviously construction is quite buoyant in the country right now, and that has a huge ripple effect across the economy, and the construction is quite buoyant. There's a lot of construction going on, and the labor market is tight according to the government. So yes, don't have the exact sectors in that the governor listed, but the governor is expecting real growth, probably about 2.7%, I think it was.
Yeah, but I think just to also bring a little clarity here, because the when we're talking about nominal GDP, we're talking about output, which is what Dr. Ferdinand is, that aspect of it. It's the goods and the services of the output of
Yeah.
the goods and services, but then it's times prices. And the issue that we're having is a high inflation. And
Correct.
so it's output times the inflation. That's why Sean is saying if it depending on what's happening with inflation. So inflation is going to also cause us to get a high GDP, because you have to multiply the total goods and services produced times the prices times price, you see. And so that is where, because of inflation, so the low GDP is as a result of inflation, and also rebasing, going back in the year, taking a base year, right, and using that. So it's also as a result of that. So I just wanted to bring that clarity. Somebody's saying that we are DCSI. Thank you for your comments, but I'm not sure how often you listen to this show. So I just want to clarify. We won't stay on this very long. That we're hearing complaining, where there's no complaining here tonight. There are moments when we have to complain, but it's not about complaining. We are examining the budget that is before us. So if it sounds like complaining, I don't know where you have to go to the government, because all we're doing is explaining what is in the budget. And we've had other shows where we just sit in here and we come up with solutions. We are right now looking at what was given to us, just for clarity, because a lot of people believe that you can't scrutinize something without giving it, solutions. Right now, we're taking the exact document from the government, the budget, and that's our right to do that. And we are examining it, we are interrogating it, we are scrutinizing it. And I suggest you do the same. Very important. Back to you, Sean.
Well, just to comment on we're not complaining about anything. We are just examining and explaining to our
Correct.
viewers the makeup and a better understanding of the debt to GDP ratio, which was highlighted by the Minister of Finance. And it was one of the first things that he spoke about as he was introducing within the first minute or two. We're just explaining what's meant by that, and how it has changed over time, and so on, and to help our viewers to understand, when you hear the debt to GDP ratio, that's what the government use. That's what international financial institutions look at. We're just saying, yes, debt to GDP ratio falling does not mean that the quantum of debt that the government has is going down. It just means that the GDP is rising faster. That's all. That's what they're saying, and we just took some time to explain about the rebasing and so on.
But technically,
and I was at length to say that there is absolutely nothing wrong with this. This is what is actually expected and what the government should do.
yeah, I was just making the comment, Marcia, Sean, that this is really an analysis of the budget. We are not complaining about anything. We're looking at what has been presented. We're analyzing it to see the pros and the cons, because in the budget there are some good things. I don't think any of us would be fair in not saying that. There are some good things, but there are some questions regarding some other things. When you look at this budget, for example, I saw nothing to address housing. I saw nothing substantive to address agriculture. And these are two areas. Food, shelter, and clothing are the three most important things for humanity. So if we're talking about helping to reduce our import bill, we have to talk about increasing agricultural production in Barbados. And I did not see anything substantive referring to that in the budget. These are things for the person's information to know. We are analyzing it and looking at what the pros and the cons are.
I
Yes.
agree with that. I agree with that. The with respect to the one with agriculture, yes, there were some initiatives, but there are small initiatives, and the steps are small and probably not large enough to really
To make a difference.
to make a difference. Yes, it may It may engage 25, 30, 40, or even 50 people in a particular activity on a particular plantation, something like it. But it's just not enough to have
It's not national.
it's not a national program. You really have to be talking about 10,000 acres or a whole lot more greenhouses or something like that if you want to have an impact. And so that was the idea. So something was mentioned about agriculture, but it clearly wasn't enough to respond to what
Correct.
we agriculture. I mean, food and energy is like huge imports, right? And unless there's a comprehensive plan about around food and around energy, we just would be back here where the government needs to be borrowed and so on and so on. We can get real increase in output and so on if we can tackle those two areas. I don't want to go into that new bigger thing yet. We will come to that, but there is that bigger initiative where where in the plan they were saying that they believe that they can go from how much from 60 million to 4 to 10 billion or something like that.
Yeah, let's touch that. I wanted to bring that up as well. I wanted us to touch on that. But Sean, just hang on and let's just complete this thing about the debt to GDP and the
Yeah.
debt per capita. And you mentioned something about the estimated public debt per capita comparisons. And so we were able to get this done for you and for the viewers. And again, everything that is shown here, you can always go and you spend some time. It does take a couple hours to get it done, but spend some time researching. We did a lot of that, right, Sean? You and I, we spent a lot of time in research preparing for this. Thanks to Mr. Wood, Anthony Wood as well.
Yes.
We have to big him up. But look at this, Sean and Dr. Ferdinand and viewers. Take a look at it. I wouldn't even comment. Just look at it and then let us comment. Everybody, pause and look at the screen.
Let me just say what I think it is saying, that the Barbados debt per capita is around 20,000 US. The Jamaica debt is around 7,500, and the Trinidad debt
around 5,000.
5,000. But
No, but-
Barbados is way out there by themselves at 20,000. That's old because it is actually closer to 27,000.
27,000. But hold a second. We want. I'm always again trying to. So when you say debt, you stop. It's supposed to be debt per capita. So I want them to understand. I want them to understand. So what we're saying here is that individually, if you were to take the debt and put it on our heads, all right, Barbados is what, probably 3 times as much as Trinidad and Jamaica. Right? I hope I didn't make that a little harder to understand.
Three times Jamaica, 5 times Trinidad.
Or debt per capita, debt per person. That's not the capita the debt, when you take the debt and divide it by the number of persons in the population, this is the result of it. Barbados is the first bar, then you have Jamaica and you have Trinidad. Just think about that. And as Sean is saying, that right now Barbados has gone way higher. Let that sink in.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, Marcian, somebody has made a comment. What are the resources that Barbados has to bring that bar down? That is my question. I'm a very simple person. I borrow money, and I have to earn money to pay my debts. So if our rate of borrowing, Sean, is around, I think you had indicated around 15 point something billion dollars in debt. Am I correct? 15
Yeah,
point
quantum of debt.
Quantum of debt, and we are earning approximately 7.2. I think it's $7.2 billion a year.
No,
That is the government's revenues.
The government's revenue is in the order of $5 billion project for this year. Forecasted around $5 billion for this year. 5 point. Let me see the estimate page.
Well, that is down. That is down.
Yeah.
Well, they I think they had reduced it by 2 million.
Yeah.
200 million.
200
Yeah.
million, I'm sorry, 200 million. Thank you, Sean. It's reduced by 200 million. They said
Yeah.
because of, what's happening geopolitically, etc., in, what's happening in the world, then they had reduced the expected revenue by 200 million, and the expected expenditure by 300 million.
To answer Dr. Ferdinand's question, the in the same budget document in the appendix at the back, the Minister of Finance has the projected revenue for this year, 5.26 billion.
Yeah.
5.26 billion. Our debt is at 15.1 of 2 billion. Where does
Yeah,
that put?
And the debt servicing for the expected, around it is 700 and something million in the actual debt payment, and the interest is around seven something. So it's 1.4 billion in debt servicing for the year. I mean, it's going to take up 28% of the government's revenue, but they will give you the debt servicing as a percentage of GDP, and it looks quite small, and that's how the governments report. But the truth of the matter is, it is going to take up 28% of everything that the government taken in order to pay the debt and the interest for the financial year coming up.
That's really the point I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
And that's all of that is, it's not figures that we make. It's in the appendix to the, you can just download the budget document, and it's in the appendix at the back. All the projections are there in the back, in the appendix. We're not speculating about what we think the government is going to do and how well we think the government is or is not doing. All these figures are there in the budget document. And what's not in the budget document is in the central bank report, printed as published. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but when you put it over, when you put the debt servicing over GDP, it will come within reasonably accepted ratios. When you put the 1.4 billion over 16 billion, you're less than 10%. You're down to 8% debt servicing, and you're good. You're home and dry. That's why it is very important for governments to continue to do the rebasing and so on and so on, so that the nominal GDP, things that are denominated and ratios that are reflected on GDP, always on the right side of where they should be in terms, the cutoff line or the acceptable line.
Yes. Sean, is there? I think we've kind of exhausted, I believe, the debt to GDP, the debt per capita ratios, etc. Because we wanted to get that particular part done. And if there's nothing else on that particular area, I would like for us to just take a quick look at Anthony Wood's response. Okay. And what I was able to do just quickly is I'm trying to make sure I can find that here. But we were able to look at well, let me just say, Anthony Wood, wherever you are, if you're listening, I want to thank you so much for your assistance in getting the content ready for yesterday's presentation. And you said you listened, and you were very, very proud of what everybody was able to do, and you thought that the event was a success. For you, as you said to me, just listening to the comments, because he gave me a little review, Sean, on it, and Dr. Ferdinand, and for me that's important, because what he has done is that, yes, he does his he does send out his reports and so on, but he also empowers others, and that's what he was able to do with our show, our roadside parliament. And he says, Marcia, the show gave ordinary citizens the opportunity to offer their opinions on the budget. The areas focused on by the panelists were well chosen and set the stage for the discussion that followed. That's a comment from Anthony Wood concerning the show. And I want to quickly go through these points of Anthony Wood's assessment of the 2026 budget, Sean, Dr. Ferdinand, and viewers. I think it's important. Okay. I don't know if anybody has had the opportunity to read that, but I have it broken down in different areas. So the first thing that he commented on was the short-term relief. He said that there's some value in it. It says the main strength identified is the budget honored campaign promises, focusing on easing the high cost of living. Wood says it delivered short-term relief measures. However, many of these measures, he says, they are temporary. He says long-term impact remains uncertain. Wood acknowledges relief, but questions sustainability. Concerning the foundations, he says he notices a weak structural foundation in the budget. The budget lacks structural coherence. And I think somebody mentioned this last night, Sean and Dr. Purdy and audience. I think somebody talked about that. He says that there was no clear linkage between the budget, the 2026-27 estimates, which we went through here, the Birth 3.0, and the Economic Diversification and Growth Fund Bill of 2025. He said that the mentions of connections were vague and insufficient. And Mr. Wood's concern is where is the integrated economic strategy, is what Mr. Wood is asking. I don't know if Dave could just put up his picture, a picture of Anthony Wood on the, we don't have the information on the screen. So if you can put up a picture, Dave, I would really, really appreciate that. He talked about revisions to the estimate. Wood highlights a 200 million reduction in projected corporate income tax, which we spoke about before, 200 million reduction in government expenditure. And he notes that he previously questioned the realism of revenue projections, but the budget did not identify which programs would be cut. We mentioned that last night again. He said he has a transparency concern. What exactly is being reduced? And while we are going through all of this, I'm going to ask people to have your questions ready. All ready to go. Again, if Dave can get his picture up, we would really, really appreciate that, just so that viewers know what we are talking about tonight. Mr. Wood says that there's an absence of macroeconomic analysis. He criticizes the budget for failing to assess the impact on employment, economic growth, debt, inflation or prices, balance of payments, and fiscal deficit. He says there's a structural weakness and no modeling of consequences. What is the impact of the budget on all these different areas? Do we have any consequences if we adopt this budget? He also mentioned the over-reliance on tourism. Wood says that the budget does not adequately address the economic overdependence on tourism. Okay? The economic overdependence on tourism. He talks about the construction-driven growth, lack of deep diversification, and the green industrial gateway advantage, which we need a whole night, Sean and Dr. Ferdinand and viewers to look at. The green industrial gateway advantage, he says it lacks detail, which we all believe that. Wood criticizes, he says the target to increase exports from 700 million to 4 billion and then to 6 billion within a decade. He's criticizing that. He thinks it's unrealistic. And I'd love for us to, people to call in and to to speak on that, to discuss that. He says the previous rum export target, viewers, was US 50 million. And then they said that their projection is that they're going to make US 1 billion annually. Usually it's 50 million, but they've just thrown this figure out, 1 billion annually, which Mr. Wood believes is unrealistic. He notes rum exports actually declined to 38.6%. So he calls these projections of exports moving from 700 million. Not now, please. We're going to take the calls a little later. Thank you for understanding. I'm just completing this. He says that he calls the projections fanciful, to believe that our exports are going to go from 700 million to 6 billion. It's within the decade, it's fanciful. He says there's weak treatment of key sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, renewable energy, international business. Minimal discussions on those sectors within the budget. The labor market and productivity issues are ignored. Low productivity, youth unemployment, underemployment, low female participation rates. Interesting. Investment and borrowing concerns. Budget did not boost private investments sufficiently. It did not address high tax burden, moderate borrowing levels, or reform inefficient state-owned enterprises. Those were not dealt with in the budget. The last point, social weaknesses beyond the cost of living, he said. What about poverty and dispossession, income inequality, high violent crime? Gun courts may help legally, he says, but no deep social intervention strategy for youth crime. So in summary, Anthony Wood acknowledges that the budget delivered short-term cost of living relief, but his main critique is structural. He argues there's no clear long-term economic transformation strategy, no detailed macroeconomic impact analysis, unrealistic export projections, and insufficient treatment of agriculture, manufacturing, and productivity. And so I would want to just kind of open this up to the panel that we have, and also to those who are watching. This is a time that you're free to give us a call at this moment. You can go ahead and do so. Sean, any thoughts on that, Dr. Ferdinand, while we wait on our first caller?
Oh, I thought I heard the phone ringing, so I hesitated. Sean,
Yeah,
you want to go first?
Very much. Y'all can hear me. I'm very much in agreement with that analysis. Not sufficient detail on key things. You mentioned about private sector investment, not sufficient detail. I mean, yes, the government is to be commended for the short term cost of living, mitigation, things that were done. All those things are good and reasonable. But in terms of how we will address the structural issues in the economy, that was not addressed in the budget. You did not hear any significant thing about energy. You're talking about continuing concessions or keeping the duties low on hybrid and electric cars, but you're bringing electric cars to plug them in to electricity that's coming from the same fossil fuel that is so expensive and so on. So you're going around in circles. That energy needs to be addressed.
But Sean, within the context of that, you're not even discussing an electric...
I'm sorry, gentlemen. My phone was muted. I was trying to tell you there's a call on the line.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, go ahead, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good evening, Marcia.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening to the panel there. Last night, I must say, though, before
you can't hear?
I love the decor that you had.
Okay,
it was very nice. The
Yes.
background was very nice and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I took it and they could not stay for the duration. But I would say that I really do fully agree with the comments of Lord economist Anthony Wood, which I have in front of me, and I would have read all of it from cover to cover. And you can't get enough of it because the short term or overzealous things that the government wants to do in this budget that everybody seems to be praising, and they don't praise it at all, because you can't have a proper budget and you have no auditor general. You do not know where the money has been spent. There was no real accountability for none of the money that has been borrowed and has been put into areas that, in my view, should not have been put into. So there are a lot of short-term effects to this, but what happened to the long-term effects? The short-term is okay in one breath, but you have to prepare for a longer term. How is it going to affect the citizens? How is it going to affect small businesses? That has not been addressed, and you have heard Anthony Wood spoke about their own enterprises such as the Transport Board and other entities that will be greatly affected. And I find that if the minister and the Ministry of Finance would have addressed these, probably people out here would have gotten some clear indication, a better idea as to what is going on. So some of the things that they've said in their manifesto and in the small book that I was able to get, they're just strong. It does not really reflect or really deal with the actual issues, a lot unrealistic things that they've been saying. And, and it sounds like you're warming over a cool soup, as I would have heard my comrade Jamal spoke to earlier. There's no real idea or no real pinpoint set of substance when it comes to the average layman and laywoman out here. And finally to add, right, and the question for the gentleman there, can't remember his name now.
Mr. Tudor, Sean Tudor.
This is talking.
Sean Tudor.
What is your view of, you have a budget or lack thereof, but there's no accountability, and I have a serious problem with that. There's no accountability because they never even thought to her or try to seek out a brand new auditor general from the last one that left. And so there's no really accountability. We already can't have the Public Accounts Committee because you know what they did with that when it came to our comrade Ralph Thorne and others that were seeking to try to prosecute this government on monies that are unaccounted for, etc., etc. So I want to know what is his take on that. I didn't really hear him, forgive me if you did, but I didn't hear you stress on the fact about the Auditor General. And to end off, Marcia and the other gentleman there, this budget was one of the poorest budgets I've ever heard. It was not explained properly, and it was not really focused on the average man and woman out here. That is my view on it. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you.
Good.
Yes. Sean, he is asking you about here it is because the budget is an accounting. It's accounts really, expenses, revenue, and you try to balance the budget. It's accounting, but there's no auditor general. That's appointed. Well, any thoughts on that?
I was listening to budgets from out in Tom Adam's time, and you remember the days when you used to hear as of midnight to night and so on and so on. But I was saying to someone just yesterday that what we are getting as budgets now has changed significantly. And you are getting these like a whole raft of initiatives, but at the point that Mr. Wood made, you're not getting the you're not getting the budget tied back into the estimate. You're not hearing about the impact of the various measures that are there and the total impact on the government's fiscal position and so on.
Sean, I'm going to have to cut you there. This is what happens when the callers come in because we only have one line. But please, I want to hear what you have to say. So just a caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show. Caller, you have to turn down the device or turn it off
Hello,
completely.
good night.
Yes, good night. Good night. Can we
Hello.
hear him? Are we
Hello.
hearing him,
Good
Dr.
night.
Ferdy? Yes.
My device is turned on, but it seems as though everything is just a little bit low.
Okay, I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Yeah. I find what happens in Barbados every year. We get caught up on big words, big numbers, big talk, no reality. A budget's supposed to be a reality check. If you have $5,000, you can't spend no more than $5,000. If you are spending more than you have, you're going over your budget. The biggest problem in Barbados that I have learned over the years is that we are people who like enough fancy words, fancy talk, but no reality. So then we go off and we say, oh, it's a good budget, but it's not nothing to do with the people. Oh, it's a good budget, nothing to relate to betterment, nothing to give the poor people food at the table. I remember in Barra time and those people when they were a budget, we didn't deal with billions of dollars, but everybody ate. I remember Miss Rock, she had buses. She didn't have no 5 billion, but she ran her buses very, very well. As a matter of fact, she ran them for years on a bigger budget. No, we had over the last 8 years billions of dollars. The roads are not fixed. The hospital in a horrible state. Everything in a horrible state. And we talk about economists and budgets and fancy words. We don't put only fancy words and see what applies to the people. Hear the people's voice. Hear what they expect. See what they need. See how we can use the money that we are stealing and taking away from the people in tax. We are the only country in the world that taxes the people on everything. A man in Barbados right now has to pay $100 and somebody $1,000 to buy a spot of land. Another $200,000 or $300,000 to build a house on it. And then he end up renting the same house. And we talk big words about budgets, but we don't talk big words about reality and what happens with this money and all these things that go around. When are we going to get real? When are the people going to get real with these budgets? Miss Rockman had that sort of money. Elite Bus didn't have that sort of money. But they run a bus company for years. Transport boards have been destroying and getting rid of billions of dollars. They went in to buy all types of bus. They buy electric bus. They buy diesel bus. They buy all kind of Mercedes bus. They can't fulfill the thing of getting the people to and from work. And we are proper setting and posing with people with big degrees. But, you know, we don't see nothing out in Barbados. We don't see nothing for the people. The people still hungry, suffering. I remember when Barbados had trawlers and the people had to get a fish. I remember when Barbados had Ribisco, you can go out in Gills Road and get crack up biscuits. I know when they had the Central Foundry, when we was punching above, we was the only body in the Caribbean with a dry dock. We was the only body with a Central Foundry. We, the Barbadian carpenters, was sending doors to Trinidad and finding it problems to get the money back. To people. And it wasn't all this money to do these things. What's really happening is we, as a people, so dishonest that we are just calling numbers and talking things, but at the end of the day, the money disappearing, the roads are not being fixed, the people in the hospital laying down on the ground. This is what they're called economists. Barbados had one of the best biscuit factories in the Caribbean, the only dry in the Caribbean, the only foundry in the Caribbean, the only body in the Caribbean with fishing trawlers getting food for the people. We was punching above when it comes to agriculture. Look at Traore. Traore is showing these criminals in the Caribbean what economics is all about. Check and see what economics is about, and not quoting big words. People from university saying this and saying that, but really not telling the truth. We're quoting things to make the people feel happy. We are passing bills and saying that the budget is for children 18 years from now. That government ain't going to be in power. what difference I can make to the people then? Is this all we have to offer to our people after all these years? The old people who didn't have degrees that went in the campaigns and built this country and can't even get a place, a house over his head. We just give away $300, as we say to the people for an election. $300, and we give it to everybody and sundry, whoever came in, and you know what it said? Thank you for the $300, but we want some more. So we are learning our people how not to work, but how to get money, and we are calling this economics. We are borrowing to our teeth. Families have never borrowed so many billions of dollars yet. Never. Economics was so good that we didn't have to borrow our money. Or the ones that we have here now is borrowing it so that they can go all over the world and enjoy life. They can get rich and switch. When we gonna wake up? When are our people gonna wake up and stop being dishonest to one another? And lying and using big words and saying this is what life is about. Good night.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
I hope during this conversation that what I say would at least make the people start to get real and understand what is happening in Barbados. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you. Yeah, Russ always keeps it real, and very, very interesting there. Sean, and then Dr. Ferdy, unless a caller calls. Go right ahead, Sean. You were saying something, Dr. Ferdy. Right on your thoughts. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah.
The previous caller was asking about what I think about they're not having the Auditor General or getting the Public Accounts Committee going. Well, if it seems to me that the government is satisfied that they don't need any scrutiny and that they can carry on and that everything is fine and they have been given an overwhelming mandate. So it seems to me that to them it feels that people like, go ahead, we like what you're doing, so carry on. I don't think that is the way, but that is what it is. But we will have to continue to use forums such as this to highlight things and highlight discrepancies and deficiencies and bring it to the public's attention. Yeah. Dr. Ferdinand.
Yes, right. Yes. Go ahead, Dr. Ferdinand. Our caller is coming in, but go ahead quickly before he's...
No, you go ahead with the caller.
Just waiting for it to... Remember, give us a call at 236-7000. If I saw that I missed some calls, feel free to call us back. This is your time.
Your message after the beep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Dr. Ferdinand.
I was looking through the budget too. Again, Sean, I see nothing about the development of a national grid to facilitate energy conversion. We keep talking about electric cars and electric this and electric that. Where is the plan for a development of a national grid? You can't have all these electrical vehicles in the country and don't have a plan for a proper electrical grid, car parks, facilities for offices. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Caller, welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Good evening, Marcia. Good
Hey.
evening to your panelists.
Good evening.
Can you hear me very well?
Yes, we're hearing you. We're hearing you.
Okay. And I want to say a shout out to Pedro. I don't know. I feel like I'm hearing a feedback, but I have nothing on.
You have nothing on. Okay, well, let's see. Keep
No.
going. We can hear you clearly, but go right ahead.
Okay. So one of the things that I want to talk about, I should say, is a welcome to a scratch screen budget, because really and truly government just threw some things out and they think that everybody is going to bite at it.
Yeah.
I think that, and I hear people saying, we should give them credit. Credit for what? It's their job, and they didn't do a really good job. I really and truly want to talk about that $5,000 that they proposed to give children. I thought it was all children, but I heard tonight that it is not.
No. Let's clarify that, caller. The 5,000 is to all children, but they will get that at 18 years old. When they're 18 years old.
Okay.
What we were talking about
so
is a grant that they're giving to those who, if you have twins or triplets, only right. So then there's a separate grant. Yes.
Okay, so well, that is the $5,000 that I really want to talk about.
Yes.
I think that number one, what our government does, and we heard it from the caller before, is just throw words together, and they figure that when they do that, they're actually doing something. Our government should be, the same way that they are systemic about entertainment is the same way that they need to be about the country, right? So here's what I have to say. If they want to give children that $5,000, why not give it to the children now? And when I talk about now, I'm talking about the investment in our children, in our healthcare system, in our education now, in the community development now. Should we not ensure that no child goes to bed hungry in Barbados now? Should we not provide social workers in our schools now? Should we not invest in extracurricular activities and opportunities for these children now? Should we not ensure that teenagers are getting opportunities every holiday so that they can make money now? I'm not looking for a utopia. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we need a government who has the pulse of its citizens. Right? I heard, that the beating on the tables and everybody was jumping, right? But I don't see where Parliament, Barbadians don't need a handout. We're not asking for welfare. We're saying give us a leg up, create opportunities that people can work, that people can change their lives. We're talking about a sandwich generation. We're talking about people like me who would take care of their mother and still got kids that have to be taken care of. These people need help. And the way that we're going to do it is if we create opportunities. And I have not really seen that. This budget does not support opportunities for Barbadians. Right? And that is something that needs to be talked about. I see some person in the audience said, well, you guys don't have ideas. Well, I just said a whole lot, and there are a whole lot of ideas in there. I am talking, and she's been on this show several times. I am advocating for people like Amaya, who has medical issues that need to be addressed in Barbados, that the likelihood that she reach 18 requires a whole lot of prayers. And so I would love government to invest that $5,000 in the healthcare, the education of every child in Barbados and give them a future. The other thing that government did not address, if at 18 and that child is no longer here, what happens to the money, right? So again, government, the future is not promised to anyone. We are living in the now, and we need you to stand up now, not stand up 18 years from now, because likelihood, 18 years from now, none of them will be in government.
Wow. Powerful. Wow. That is powerful. Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you.
Wow.
That is fantastic. I mean, again, Marcia, if the government would just engage the people of the country, I mean, that she's just one person, and she's offered about 5 different possibilities there. I listened to her talk about the opportunities for youth now, but instead of that, we established 2-gun courts. Now, I have nothing against persons being made to pay the penalty for their crimes, but at the same token, why aren't we establishing some type of facility that affords them the opportunity of not having to end up in a gun court? And that is where I have not heard the government provide or propose a single aspect in terms of the treatment of that. I wanted to mention as well, get back to the matter of energy. It's like they've got the cart before the horse. You're talking about converting and shifting over to away from fossil fuels on to renewable energy and whatnot. But what is the plan? I see no plan laid out for the national development of alternative energy. Because Marcia, when we talk about electric vehicles, I tend to get into this a bit because I'm a vehicle person. But when you talk about an electric vehicle, you're talking about a vehicle. I'm not talking about hybrids. I'm talking about electric vehicles that carry a battery with a 10-year lifespan. What is the plan of government to dispose of a lithium battery in 10 years? Because time is flying, and we're buying cars today in terms of 2006, 2018. People are buying Nissans for 2022. What happens now when you go to buy a vehicle? If right now, Marcia, the price of a new battery is close to $50,000 for that electric vehicle, by the time you get into 10 years and a person has to replace that battery, the battery's cost is going to be more than the value of the vehicle. All of these are things that you have to take into consideration. Where's the plan? Where's the plan?
Indeed.
You're
Yes,
mute.
we have a caller on the line. Good night, caller.
Good evening, Marcia.
Good evening. Good evening. I know that's Commissioner. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yes.
Now, what do you call about this evening or tonight? Now, what do you call about? In the budget, I was hearing, or I didn't hear it, but I heard it in the news and other people tell me that the pensioner is going to get $100 increase. I will also hear
For
that
3
we
months.
get
Just
from the
3 months. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I also heard that we're going to get it on the 1st of April. On the 1st of April.
Mm-hmm.
But don't forget, the 1st of April is All Fools Day. And they don't know, according to my Grenadian people, that they're trying to send the food further. You catch me?
Yes.
You catch me?
Yes, I catch you, Commissioner.
The 1st of April, All Fools Day.
Yes.
So we know to try to send them further. All right. Let me get it in the nitty-gritty of this thing. Now, I was working in a bus terminal for a couple of years, and it was among the pensioners. In and out of the terminal, I would call it empty stomach. And those that get paid or get the money direct deposit, and those that come to town to go in the bank or to get they will get a 2 check. The change one and left that one. Now we live in an age when I hear this $100 for the pensioners, I want Miss Morley, Kevin Greenwich, and the Minister of Finance to let him know that $100 can't work. Now, I among the pensioners now. I get some of them go. I want to buy the target read on and so I'm bus free to carry in Tanquoy that they give it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's a lot of medication of the drug farmer. Drug farmer, that's the word. And so I might have to go to the pharmacist. I meet a lot of my old pensioners that have to pay sometimes $150, $160, $175 in medication. In medication. A lot of it off the drug formula. Me, I got to pay $100 for mine. So after they get money, I ain't gonna let buddy net my shop and buy a Martin new drink, 6 biscuits and an ounce of cheese. But $100 gone. Do you remember when they gave the solidarity?
Yes.
The $300?
Mm-hmm.
I on record scene. And I can leave. Or I might dead saying it. that the pensioners should get that $300 every month on their paycheck. Whether that the checks are the direct deposit. $100 they work on pension, and that what it is. Now, I tell you why. When I first when I went to trade, I didn't have the power tools on that, so I worked hard. Power sauna, power drill, nothing so. Everything we had to slap them with a 4-foot saw. And my first trade again is $62. I got rid of it. I work in agriculture. I remember the first place I went to work in plantation. The supervisor, the manager said, Richard, you know that you're all risk. And anything happen to you, you're responsible. You respond. Then that kind of term to tell you, and you come and get people $100. I wash your cabinet, wash your parliament smartly. You ever hear the old time people tell you that who ain't get this coming, who ain't get they come and get now? And do the hard, they get more. What a fucking and there. But that public party cabinet that election get left behind. The lost all kind of allowance. And a massive paycheck. And then these people before they actually do agriculture work. And that's how you come and give it? And you live in large. You put density. That's the way to tell me, they will give a word. I can't spell that word. How do you feel? I know among them people, I know $100 can't work. I look like a what's in my mouth. I can take every year live. I don't do much right here, stop now. I lay it low. And they got money. When they call my grandmother, I treat it better. Your ministers are going to live in large. And let me tell you something, don't come and tell me about one, because I like to blame. But blame come to me that one, when it's so wicked and vindictive, when I go and say that, even Hurricane Janet, when we blame Hurricane Janet for things happening everywhere. It was in 54 and 55 or something like that, or 55, 54. Yeah. When they come and blame Janet for things, give people money. And they go and mess with the workers, the leader of the workers. Union, all I want to know. Let me give you the winner. Government and workers for this 2% and 1% thing, because the workers didn't get it. I just wanted them to tell winner. I like the people, I call them the NFP, the new National Party. That was the political party in Grenada. And anything else used to tell me that this administration can set milk with the coffee. And I can come back and tell you why you said so again. 2018 when they give me $21 like the Monday. And the Friday, a wax for lots. Garbage so much. Garbage I have levy. I go and say it's 2018, they want my 18 with $21. I didn't get it. And I said, well, someone so did I get this $21? God love them. But they love me, they give me mine. Yep. You remember there was a woman that she was in the civil service. And she used to go and party in my yard. You know, the whole disciples and Mary, the mother of Christ, all it was at the foot of the cross. Yes. So she right. Remember that woman? Mm-hmm. With all she plucked cars? Mm-hmm. She used to meet at the foot of Parliament. You remember that woman?
Yes.
They don't get the pension when that's their parliament, yeah.
Will they get out there? Will the pensioners go out there? That's the
I
thing.
only want a few.
They want a few. So you're telling me you're calling the pensioners to hit the streets because you're saying that this is a slap in the face.
No. You see that place in the old national insurance that she knocked down? Look, we can form a union for the pensioners. We ain't doing nothing that like the youth trade. They take money from the God joint down there and so now when the pensioners come, they don't go up on the day they got the meetings. Or you see a labor and a statue.
Yes.
We ain't getting treated good, but we're taller.
So you are basically this is so interesting. The pensioners are saying, listen to me, people, that they will go and march and they will form their own union and association to lobby on behalf of themselves. How many of you agree with him?
I only want that business guy. I got a few already. I think I start about six to eight of the. Let me tell you, I got some of this gather man so coming up like I'm bush free and think we have money can rugby.
Yeah.
We check colors and then tell you to share with people that can live healthy. But you can live healthy. Then the pharmacist said 175, 150, 160.
Yes.
The purchase going to be money.
Yes.
The pharmacist.
Well, Commission, we can continue this conversation another night because I think I love the mobilization. I love how you're mobilizing the people. So that would be an interesting protest of the pensioners in this country. Well, thank you. You know what? Dave, if you check your WhatsApp, you will see an article there from Barb because Barb is very upset about this $100. So you might be onto something. You might be onto something, Commissioner.
You don't touch a nerve.
Lord, 1 minute, Commissioner. Go ahead, touch the nerve. Go ahead, 1 minute. Yes.
I know Miss Margaret Rice boy, can that's the name.
Yeah.
No, I belong to bar, but I belong to bar. I just start saying she man.
Yeah, have a conversation and
somebody gonna do something about this here. Let me try to
well, Commissioner.
I'm a two-step. I love it now with people but I'm the red wow and the red string and the red pattern here, my man. Like the sheep that lost the shepherd.
Commissioner.
The sheep that lost the shepherd, all for now. You say, yeah. I know what people in the too. But I get fight for the black people, for people, and the dams.
Yes. Well, yeah. Well, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner said they say meh like the sheep.
But a lot of them, when the Christmas comes, you see all of them in different places, eating and drinking.
Yes.
They can't get me.
Yes. Commissioner, I want to tell you, thank you for calling, and we need Barbadians like you. We need more Barbadians like you there who are going to be speaking up on behalf of themselves because we do not have that formal opposition, and that's what's happening. Thank you so much, Commissioner, and feel free to call back again. We love when you call. Call back again on Friday. No, Friday. It's Friday, Commissioner. Friday night, okay?
I go and say something on the whiteboard and so we can get something going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And stop them from meing. Okay, all righty then. You have a good night. Yes. Okay, bye-bye. It's a national treasure, I tell you. That's really funny. But we have Sean, that's what happened here, that we give them the time to express themselves. Barb calls for a permanent solution. Let's see how serious they are about this, because
That that has been a running commentary and comment. There's been a theme that's been running through most of what the callers have been saying, that it's short termism. There aren't genuine fixes, nothing structural, just a lot of little short term things. Some may even say gimmick, a little short term relief for things that are serious and structural and systemic. Very, very short term.
Yeah, so the caller is very, very right there. Just to read this, Dr. Ferdinand, it says that the Barbados Association of Retired Persons is calling for more permanent measures to ensure financial security for pensioners. Responding to the national budget, President Marilyn Rice Bowen says the association welcomes the initiatives with cautious appreciation. She notes that there are several benefits highlighted in the budget. However, she maintains that a one-year measure is not enough, especially as rising prices continue to erode the purchasing power of fixed pensions. And Dave, you have a 41 minutes voice note there. Can you play it if you can?
Barb accepts that responsible fiscal management today protects the programs our members rely upon tomorrow. A temporary measure does not resolve a permanent problem. The erosion of purchasing power among pensioners is not a one-year phenomenon. As the credit period draws to a close, Barb will be engaging the government firmly on whether the economic environment justifies its continuation, expansion, or conversion into a permanent structural benefit, and we will not be quiet about it.
Wow. Well, I guess Commissioner is onto something. Go ahead. There's
Many
another one.
of our members have limited digital access and mobility constraints. The option to receive payments quarterly, semi-annually, or annually is sensible flexibility. But that information must be communicated clearly and early so that no eligible pensioner is left behind.
Yeah. So they seem very serious about this thing. I tell you, um, Sean, Dr. Ferdinand. Last night we had some persons had. Oh, we have a caller now. We have a caller now again. Yes. Good night, caller. Can you turn down your device? I can hear myself. Yes. Good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Yes, I'm welcoming myself again. I'm always welcome on your show.
Oh, I'm glad you know that.
Yes, please. I don't know if to say fortunately or unfortunately, I did not get a chance to listen to the budget this year. My question is, did I miss anything? You know? So what I am finding though is that we are coming to an age now of psychological politics, making our people feel good about getting nothing. You understand me?
Yes.
So this thing about making people feel good about having nothing at all. So it seems as though psychological politics now has taken hold of this whole situation. We now have good gun court ideas. Now, I was not good at maths in school, but I understood English, and I know pretty well when words don't add up. Now, the people who party, they don't really care about budgets. All they care about is partying.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that this is the psychological politics that is being pushed now, because let's give the people another party, you know. And I don't mean you know what kind of party I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Just give them something to party and feel good about, because the budget is coming and they're not going to care very much about budget. We are being educated in this time because of the Marceline show about what budgets really mean. And a lot of things that we took for granted, GDP or GPD, not you know, we took a lot of things for granted. But you know, with a lot of wisdom, seeing that is
Oh, I'm sorry. We had a problem there. I touched the wrong button. Nothing on my phone. Can you just you? I was there caught up in what you were saying. You said something about the graph that you watched, etc. On that was on. Dave could put that, but just repeat what you said. We missed you there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying that this little dot in the Caribbean that is away from the chain seems to have more debt than the bigger islands.
Mm.
You know, when I hear about 5 times and 3 times, I don't even want to think about it. Now I'm asking myself, who is the government? I don't think, is the government the prime minister, or is the government the people? It seems as though when the prime minister signs on the dotted line, she is actually signing on the behalf of the people. So who is going to pay the debt? Surely not the prime minister. So it seems as though that the debt is going to fall on the people. So when we're looking at the government, it seems as though the government is the people, because we're the ones who are carrying the burdens, not the prime minister. So that's what I'm saying, that a lot of political, psychological politics is being carried on, and the people are not fully aware of what is happening right under their nose. Now, I heard something mentioned about how much a household has to pay, the one person has to pay when the mass is done. You know, this is a debt that one person, a citizen, is carrying, all because of the government.
Yes, over 50,000, over 50,000, $55,000 per person.
Okay. Now we know that there were some people who were not made exempt, but they were relieved of debt. You know that there were people who were relieved of their debt.
Yeah, when was that?
Are the citizens going to be relieved of their debt of this?
Oh, I follow. Yes. Okay, I follow. Yeah.
Right. Are the citizens going to be relieved of this debt that they carry? So when it comes to, or like, this is what I'm saying, it seems as though it was the people who gave away the land in JAMAL's name, because this was the government's act. And if the government represents the people, it means that the people are the ones who give away the land. You know, so I'm saying that a lot of things have been happening with just an upfront, I would say, psychological politics, but it is the people who have to bear the burden of this whole thing. And another thing, I'm going to close on this. The people are being put in a position where they are forced to live long to pay back these debts. You know, so you can't retire at 63 or 62. The only person who can retire before age is the politicians. So I'm saying that a lot of times we are being put in a psychological politics, and feel that the people who are looking out for us are really looking out for us, but they're actually making us happy doing nothing. So that's my thing for the night. We actually having a temporary budget. Everything is being temporary.
Temporary. Well, thank you so.
That's my thing for the night.
Thank you so much, caller. Some great points as usual. Thank you for calling. God bless you. Yes, gentle people, we have 8 minutes before we close the show. Last night on last night's show, there were some questions that came online, Sean, specifically to you. And this is I'm directing them to you. And Dr. Ferdinand can jump in. I don't know if he was able to see the show. And viewers alike, we do it all together. M. Gardner says, why didn't they highlight what they did with the money that they borrowed? Right? This is what M. Gardner. So right now we're just going to focus for the next couple of minutes on those questions that were put online that we didn't get a chance. So, Sean, you have a quick comment about that since you were on?
The budget is not so much for highlighting what was done. I guess they would have highlighted that
in the estimates.
But yeah, you have the estimates process where things are gone through in detail, and yeah, and as having the public workers in the well as well, and they're discussing, they go through and so on. Yeah.
Yes, I think they were talking about the money that they borrowed years ago. They wanted, I think what they're trying to say, we don't know, this all of these billions of dollars, 15 point whatever billion, we don't know what they've done with it. Patricia Green says, well, just a comment. I'm glad that, Marcia, you invited new faces to the panel, grassroots people, etc. So thank you, Patricia Green, for that comment last night. That's what we were trying to do, to have some fresh faces and grassroots people. And I think that's important to keep things alive. Nina says, why can't young people build a career using YouTube? I don't know if you guys are aware, but in Barbados, you're not able to monetize from YouTube, from any social media at all. Up to today, this is 2026. You can do it in Jamaica, you can do it in Trinidad, you can do it in Bahamas, all over. But you can do it in Guyana, not Barbados. You cannot monetize from, and I'm not hearing any of these, anything in the budget or in the estimates or anything to do with youth that would, because a lot of people would make some money, Sean and Dr. Ferdinand, from social media. Any quick comments there?
Yes, I see Lisa Hanna in Jamaica talking a lot about that and about the people being able to make some money from the social media and so on. I am not aware the reason why we are not allowed to do it here. It's on our government regulation, and or is it on the YouTube people? And
no, it's on ours, because it's available whatever country you're in. You have people in Kenya that are making money from it, in Nigeria, all over Africa. Actually, it's a booming business.
That a part of the green industrialization gateway advantage that those changes are envisaged in there. I mean, because I want this country to succeed. I want to see the diversification. I want to see improvement in the country. And this what was put here, it is vague and it is ambitious, but it's vague. And I would hope that something can come of this, because it would redound to the benefit of of all the population in
Oh,
the end.
yeah. Yeah,
If
yeah.
one sector is doing well, it benefits everybody else, and so on. So I want to see the country working. I want to see the diversification.
Yeah, and that would help a lot of young people. You have a quick one on this, Dr.
But
Ferdy?
yeah, sure. I mean, in terms of the process, I'm not seeing anything that's addressing. I'm hearing ideas being thrown out. It's almost like if they're brainstorming, and there is no substance to the matter. How are you going to get this done? What are your objectives? What are the things in terms of a timeline? None of that is there. And I would have thought that in terms of a budget, what you're proposing. You're proposing something. You're indicating what it will cost. That to me is what I see a budget is supposed to do. And this is not something I'm seeing in this. I can't remember if it was you, Marcia, that mentioned it, but somebody talked about scratch grain budget. I think it was the lady that called in. And that's exactly what I felt. I kept saying to myself, but this is like little scraps showing out there for low income and middle income Barbados. But what about the higher uppers? How is
Yeah.
it affecting them?
Yeah.
And I don't think it is.
Yes. But we need to look at really lobby the young people for this, for them. And somebody's saying that it's a YouTube issue. No, it is in St. Vincent. They're able to monetize. We cannot monetize here.
Marcia,
And so that is it. But yeah, yes, a quick one, Dr.
yeah, very
Fernandez.
quickly. I actually reached out to someone just now, and they're indicating to me that you can monetize here in Barbados.
No, you can only if, and I have the facts on this. The only way is if you use an IP address from overseas.
Okay.
Only if you use an IP address from America, you can monetize. But it is
Okay.
not. We do not
Not
have
a
this
local
system.
one.
No, we
Okay.
don't have the system as Jamaica connects from Jamaica. In order for me to monetize, I must have an IP address from another country that allows that, right? A second hospital is needed. How do we fund it? That's DCBI is what that was from last night, saying a second hospital is needed. How do we fund it? I don't know if we can use the time to discuss this, but I was putting these out as questions that we can follow up on for the next
Either through loan,
meeting.
or grant.
Right. So, and then DCSBI says that was from last night's show. What is the prospect for increasing the manufacturing base in Barbados? What is the prospect for increasing the manufacturing base in Barbados? And so we need to, those are some of the things that I believe we can continue the discussion another night, because it is 10 o'clock. It is 10 o'clock. Oh, wow. This was fun.
What's the old saying? Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes. I saw Vihoy. Vihoy, you had some great suggestions there. I want to give you a task, Vihoy. Vihoy, you had a task there about the pensions, I believe, but it went so quickly. And that's something we do on this show. We come and we present solutions and so on. And if it is that the pensioners are not happy with what has been presented, it'd be really good for them to present what it is that they want. And I think Vihoy, you have some great ideas. We have a lot of pensioners, SHAWN, who watch the show, support the show, and we can discuss it among them. And then, this is something that we say, this is what, because we would have, as Jamal said, done the needs test, right? We done the needs test and we know what they need. And then we are now bringing it to the government and say, this is what they want. So I am all for that. But I would love to start with what Vihoy is suggesting. Vihoy, if you can develop that in like a one-pager or a half a page or even just a WhatsApp paragraph, send it to me, Vihoy, and then we're going to take it I'll take it from there and poll the pensioners who are on this program, and then we move from there, whether it is a protest action, what is it we need to do. But we are people of action, right? But we're closing now. Dr. Ferdinand, any final words? I'm going to give the last word to Mr. TUDOR.
Well, the only thing I have to say at this point, Marcia, is that I'm a bit disappointed that the budget does not have more explicit details, does not lay out things in terms of even energy. We don't know in terms of energy what the government's plan is. And incidentally, something that we didn't get to tonight to do with the import duties and taxes as it relates to container importations. Again, Sean, and this is something in terms of the private sector. They're not going to be passing on savings in terms of that to the consumers in Barbados, because they have to operate at a level where when things fluctuate, they don't lose money. That's a reality. And they're not going to be dropping any prices. I can assure you we will not see that happening in any supermarket in Barbados.
And while Sean thinks of the final word, I want to say again a thank you to those who made last night so splendid. We could not, I'm telling you, do it without you. Every time we go out and we do something, it's your help. And to Angela Headley, and also Cleveland Ennis. You guys, you are two angels. I want to thank you again, thank the Democratic Labour Party for allowing us to rent a part of their hall to make that wonderful event reality. Thank you again. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you, Mr. Wood, Anthony Wood, for your assistance, and everybody who watched it. And I know you're going to say, I keep thanking people, because I know it could never have happened without your help. God bless you, and thank you so much.
One more person to thank, Marcia, your husband, Dave.
Yeah, I went with my hand to say, and thank you, Dave. I thank you, Dave, for being there tonight and for all that you have been able to do. He stayed down in town today to make sure that everything was brought back, and rushed in and quickly went to his seat and started and had dinner while he was working, while he was getting everything set up. And so, Dave, I really thank you on behalf of Barbados for what you do. And of course, on behalf of myself, I couldn't do it without you at all. Sean, final word.
Well, what I would say with the budget, we talked a lot, but better can be done. Better needs to be done. And I would hope in the next few months that the government would get out there, listen to the various organizations, and ask again and come again and craft some policies that would genuinely assist Barbadians, genuinely assist business, that we can grow this economy. And provide a better livelihood for all of us here in the country.
Excellent. God bless you all. When is the next Roadside Parliament? In 4 weeks. We are going to make this happen again. Another one like we had last night. All right. Okay. God bless you.
Okay,
love you
God
all.
bless, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. Good night.
I work hard every election. I go knocking from door to door. My loyalty could never be questioned. You've always enjoyed my support. 7 years of patiently waiting while others parading. Can't believe what I'm seeing. I watched them get through. It's like you're always forgetting. When I sacrificing, they got to be something that you could get me to do. Market vendor in Washington, D.C. I too could practice diplomacy. I beg you, please, me, don't forget me. How Sigler get that job overseas? He ain't even in the party. I beg him, please, me, don't forget me. Listen, in the party choir, I'll always sing. I can get on worse than Patrick King. I beg him, please, me, don't forget me. Everybody! Don't forget me. 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 Listen carefully. Don't forget me. Give me something. A little something. We appreciate your representation as you fly high all over the world. From climate change to fighting for reparation, you inspire little boys and girls. But my car suspension needs fixing, the bad roads need paving. When my MP gone missing, things are keep brown. Food prices keep rising, and my MP gone missing. I don't know where else to turn, so I'm coming to you. I don't want no corned beef and biscuits. We done with that kind of politics. Listen carefully, don't forget me. Wanna promise me house and land, but back 6 acres with the Africans. I beg you please, don't forget me. A pool of construction overruns, can't get the spot up in St. John. I beg you please, don't forget me. What? Don't forget me. 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 Listen carefully, don't forget me. Give me. Give me something. Lie, Lord. Listen. If you got the position for the Senate, I would even take a ministry. You bring the big man from Geneva. You ain't gotta fly me from overseas. I don't want to be party leader. That for Humphrey and Santel. Once there's a fair criteria, let them fight for that. I don't like no confusion. I have a simple vision. 2 times get my pension, cock up my foot and relax. I can replace Dale the AG, cause all he does do is skinny damn tea. I beg you please, don't forget me. Auntie, I will never make you shame. Don't trouble a boy, I stay in my lane. I beg you please, don't forget me. A classic, there's only one star here. A classic case with a spotlight. I beg you please, don't forget me. What? Don't forget me. 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 Listen carefully, don't forget me. Give me. Woo! Hey! Love it. I love it. Hey! Cut me with a knife and red is the color. A true comrade of your party. Well, tonight, Auntie, I am on a mission. You know I deserve the monarchy. Don't mind that one called AC. He sang that song twice already. He coming next behind me, just where he belong. And that's for that one called Carrie. She too loves singing R&B. Look now, the action star, me a Dr. Brass Stacks. Tell AC tonight that I is the boss. But with that song, he will lost. I beg you, please, don't forget me. There's only one star in here tonight. A classic case with a spotlight. I beg you, please, don't forget me. Carol girl, don't mind Ronnie. I love you, no way, you look too sexy. I beg you, please, don't forget me. What? Don't forget me. 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 Listen carefully, it's blow the blow. Listen carefully. Let the judges know. Listen carefully. It's very clear to to see that God can hold with me. Space, so what happened, you know? Jesus can't even help you through. Yeah, don't forget me.